Hello, everybody. How are you doing on this fine Tuesday? Oh man, I gotta be honest. I'm basically can't keep my eyes open. I have been down a lot of like 3 different rabbit holes. I have made some of the most astounding discoveries in the last 48 hours, but I also have only slept about between 3 to 6 hours. So I kind of contemplated whether to even make this video today. I was thinking about maybe just make it tomorrow, whatever, but I already pushed it off from yesterday. So I just want to get it out. Okay. So bearing that in mind. So I have been trying to, I don't know, like familiarize myself with what's going on. Also have a different mic stand today, so it might look different. I've been trying to familiarize myself with what's going on with this whole Scientology. Oh yeah. Well, if there's any bots in the chat, hello Monica, best mod on YouTube is in this chat. So I'm not worried about no bots in this chat. If any of the other mods are in here, hello, hello, hello. I just don't see y'all in here. Someone's saying in the chat there's there's like a lot of bot accounts, out and about. So if you probably most people here right now are familiar with the whole what's going on, but the TLDR is basically protests at the Church of Scientology and other buildings having to do with and owned by and associated with Scientology. There's been some protests going on and they are ramping up. We're to the point now where I think that it's like every day people are out there protesting. They're live streaming. They are, all that. Someone ended up getting arrested at one of the protests. I made a 4-hour live stream about that. So y'all can go check that one out if you did miss it. But it's a very prominent ex-Scientologist, former Scientologist. He has a YouTube channel, very successful, very big YouTube channel called Growing Up in Scientology. His name is Aaron Smith Levin. Well, he was out there protesting. He ended up getting assaulted, in my opinion, battered, threatened with his life. We covered this on the last video. And, that was, in his opinion, a crime. He was in reasonable apprehension for his safety and he called the cops. The cops show up and they kind of trickled in. It wasn't like they were all, very punctual either. I think it took at least an hour before the first cops showed up. Y'all correct me in the live chat, correct me in the comments. I'm still not 100% on the actual like minute by minute timeline, but it ended up being like close to 3 hours from the time that Aaron Smith Levin called the cops and then he was actually getting taken away in handcuffs, right? So he was assaulted, attacked in the street. It was all on video. It's all on camera. You can see a bunch of different angles on my channel and elsewhere. And the cop that seemed to be pulling all the strings was this man named Tim. I guess I'm going to say Tolman. I don't really know how to say his name because I've heard it pronounced a few different ways. But Talmon, I'll say. That's the cop who showed up on the scene. And he showed up on the scene. He's like giving like to people and it literally legitimately looks like the man is an actor. It did look like that to me. Like he was just having fun making people wait. Like it was his world and we were just living in it. So that same cop, Tim Tolman, ends up, according to Aaron, like basically abusing him while like holding him in jail, lying to somebody. He was telling people, the protesters outside the jail, he was telling them that they were going to keep Aaron the whole weekend. And they were telling Aaron, we're going to keep you, we're going to book you. And then they were telling the lawyer they're going to book you. And then they were coming back and telling Aaron again, like, oh no, we're going to let you go. They said they're going to try and unscrew themselves or something. I don't know. I don't know if they were just not anticipating getting that amount of backlash or that immediate backlash, but it did seem to me, in my opinion, like it was a coercive tactic to try and keep them from pressing charges or pursuing charges or even calling the cops if he's attacked again. Now, there was a lot of speculation. People were saying maybe this guy, this cop, is a Scientologist. Or maybe he's like a hired goon. Maybe he's like, somebody who has a relationship somehow with Scientology, the Church of Scientology in LA. He is a Hollywood cop. And people were saying that these cops in LA also have side gigs where they'll be getting paid by the Church of Scientology to act as a private security guard when they're like off hours as a police officer. So people in the comments and the chats and stuff were telling me that it's a lot of people. That it's a lot of money that the Church of Scientology does provide, for those services. So they have a kind of symbiotic relationship. There's other connections that y'all brought to my attention, specifically on Serge's channel. On his community post, he posted a propaganda style article of LAPD and the Church of Scientology working together less than a year ago to clean up the parks or something, which I think is fine. No problem with that. But it just kind of does beg the question, do those partnerships perhaps bias the police? And so I'm asking all these questions and I don't know. So the first thing I like to do is just, hit the public record, hit the archives, hit the internet, and try and figure out for myself without, other input, what I think is going on, or if there's more stuff that there is to the story or whatever. So because because this is like where I'm starting, like this is an interesting thing to kind of start making content about, because it kind of happens. Each topic I cover is different. So sometimes it's like no one on earth is talking about a topic and I have to just like start it. Sometimes it's like already a whole movement going, like Free Britney. Sometimes it's just, I'm making a couple videos and I don't make anymore, so each one's different. But in this particular circumstance, it's kind of new because there are a lot of people, hundreds probably at least, who know a lot about the institutional abuses of the Church of Scientology, alleged. There's a lot of people who know a lot. Like, y'all know everything already. So I'm trying to kind of like start from the bottom and kind of like, who are these people? What's going on? How are the parts moving? For me, like I pointed out in my last video, I am biased to the extent that the thing I really want to focus on is the improper allegations of improper relationships between the LAPD and the Church of Scientology. I do think and believe the survivors of Scientology, especially the ones that were there as kids, I believe them. And I definitely do think that the movement, that everyone's working on should be pushed forward. I'm happy to lend my assistance to it as well. But for the actual focus of the video itself, I do want to focus on the relationship. Why, like, it's important to me because the relationship between the cops and the Church of Scientology, or the cops and anybody, this is the Hollywood precinct at the LAPD, it kind of calls into question how our public institutions are being run. Now, I do think the Church of Scientology should be investigated on whether or not they should keep tax exempt status, and that's a different consideration. But so all that to say, it's just kind of, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of disclaimering and warning y'all because I did something kind of new this time. And it was really for myself at first. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to make a video out of this. So I made a literal PowerPoint presentation, which I have not opened PowerPoint in several years. I had to like re-download it and stuff. But it's kind of like I had all these newspaper clippings and it's been difficult for me to, like, when I'm live, to put the newspaper clippings like up for my picture. It's just too much. So I don't know. We're going to try this out today. Okay. So here's my little PowerPoint. It's not very professional. It's, like I said, haven't touched this software or program or whatever it is in a while. But it gets the point across. You'll get the point. You'll get the gist. Okay. Just reading some of y'all's comments. Oh, Leah Remini is also having a her court thing is going on right now. In there, grasping, stay away. Okay, so who is LAPD officer Tim Tolman? Okay, so this is gonna take some twists and some turns. Like I told y'all, I'm having a hard time even keeping my eyes open. So I don't know how much stamina I'm gonna have for this, but it could turn out we're here for a while, because after I'm done with my presentation here, Serge has offered to come on and talk about the firsthand kind of on the ground reporting of what's going on. So y'all start coming up with some questions that you might want to ask Serge. And I think also we may be joined by his husband as well, Michael. So we'll see. If I start getting too tired, I'm gonna have to speed this up so we can get to that part. But okay. So why am I asking? All right, here's the points why I'm asking. already talked about some of this. Daily protests have been happening at the Church of Scientology and elsewhere. A prominent ex-Scientologist was assaulted, battered, and threatened with his life, and it was on film. He called the victim, Aaron, he called the cops, and this clown showed up and arrested the victim. Was in a jail cell for hours, physically and mentally abused. Like, he was going to lock him up to the toilet. Remember that whole thing? He was going to actually lock him up in the bathroom where other people were going in there and use the bathroom. And it did seem like Talmon was the one that was running the show, calling the shots. It seemed like he was the one who was telling the rookie where to put Aaron. It seemed like he was the one whose discretion it was all going to come down to on the actual scene. This is just my perception, which that's all I can really say because I wasn't there. And I just saw it on the cameras and I heard those, firsthand accounts. But I'm not 100% sure if he was, the lead head guy or whatever, but it seemed like it to me. He definitely was the one who was trying to get Aaron locked up in the bathroom and chained to a bench in the bathroom, according to Aaron. Okay, so that's why I'm asking. I want to know why. Who is this guy? What's his deal? And I want to investigate and explore a little bit. What are the possible connections that he has to the Church of Scientology and anything else? Okay, hold on one second. So Jen says this, which is weird. Because there was a sergeant on the scene when Tolman showed up. Okay, that is weird. So I don't know. Maybe he's the sergeant's boss. Maybe he's the special Scientology cop. We're trying to investigate. 2 hours after the assault, apparently, is whenever Tolman showed up and then acted like he was the mayor of the town. Yeah, he did. He acted like he was the mayor of the town. It's so true. I mean, he's like it was this like he was getting out on a red carpet. Okay, so here we are here. Okay, so here are Tim Tolman's parents. And this is all public record, public information. This is all public before I ever talked about it and will remain public. I am commenting on matters of public concern and giving y'all my interpretation, opinion, and commentary. Facts ain't defamation. Opinions ain't defamation. Okay, so here's the parents, William and Peggy Tolman, William Whitney Tolman Jr. William Whitney Tolman Jr. And he did go by Bill. And by the time he met his wife, or by the time he married his wife, he had already been married and divorced. Then here you have Peggy Tolman. Together with each other, they did conceive and have 2 kids, one of which is Officer RoboCop. And all together, they had 6 kids because she had 2 and then he had 2. So Tim is the youngest son, and he's the second to youngest child in the family. Some of you may already be recognizing who this character is right here. I didn't know anything about this. And y'all are in my comments talking about, you don't know what the blah, blah, blah and blah, blah, blah show. No, I was born in 1990. I don't know what all these shows are. Okay. But I did watch some of them, like Matlock and Gilligan's Island and Three's Company. And what's that other one? Andy Griffith. They were playing that one all the time on Nick at Night. Okay. So let's move to the next slide. Okay, this is Dad. Like I told y'all, he's like a famous actor. This is something that he played in 1952 called 1 Minute to Zero. So this is Officer Tim Tolman's father, William Tolman, aka Bill. And here he is again with his co-star Raymond Burr. Now, he played in this show called Perry Mason. No, I had never heard of it before. Now I know that offended some of y'all. No, I had not. But apparently the sort of premise of the show is like a court show, a court weekly sitcom type of thing. And I don't know if that's the genre. I really don't know. I didn't watch a single moment of it. But apparently the star of the show, who's this guy Raymond Burr, he is a lawyer. And then the Tim Tolman's dad, William, plays this character who's like this prosecutor or a district attorney, and he literally loses the case in every episode. He loses in every episode, and it's kind of a trope. Like, he never gets to win. So he's a loser, and he plays one on TV. And he also, in his other movies, he plays a villain, and that's going to end up being important later because he plays villains very well. One of his eyes is way bigger than the other one. You'll see what I mean. But this is him, William Whitney Tolman Jr. This is the father of the man who showed up acting like he was, the prom king. Okay, now we get to Timothy. Timothy Tolman, he goes by Tim. Let's go into his birth and early life. You might recognize this photograph. This is, one such picture. Who's getting arrested over there? Oh, that's him. That's Aaron. I am a little out of it, okay? So here he is right here, Talmon, walking around. Here he is right here with one of his little special stars. And then here he is right here singing something, I guess the national anthem, as a part of the LAPD quartet. Isn't that cute? Isn't that adorable? So they got him lined up like steps. That's cute. Okay. So he was born in 1965 to those two parents I just told y'all about. He was a chain smoker. Oh, sorry. This is on the wrong slide. This was supposed to be Bill was a chain smoker on the other slide. See, I didn't prepare too well, this part of it. But his dad was a chain smoker. That's going to be important later. Peggy was emotionally unstable. Going to be important later. And Tim was the youngest son, and he had one younger sibling, and that was his sister. Okay. So in 1960, again, like I just told y'all, Tim was not born until 1965, but 5 years before he was born, this fiasco happened with his father and his mother. And his mother. This is such a fiasco. And this public record, obviously, I got it from the newspaper. Okay. Bill gets busted with 7 naked people doing, allegedly. This is just what's being reported. I was not going to be born for another about like 40 years. So I was clearly, obviously not there. Wait, 30 years. Sorry. Title of the article: William Tolman of Perry Mason TV show jailed after Vice raid. William Tolman, the hard luck district attorney on the Perry Mason television program, was arrested on narcotics and morals charges early today when deputies broke up a wild party and found guests frolicking in the nude. Thanks so much, Mimi Q, for the super sticker. Appreciate that. Yeah, so that's just right up out the gate. Right up out the gate. Tim Tolman's dad was arrested in 1964, and I quote, narcotics and morals charges when deputies broke up a wild party and found guests frolicking in the nude. Which, I mean, look, listen, if you're doing that in the comfort of your own home, I really, honestly, whatever, I don't really care. But let's keep reading and see if we can get any more info. Talmon, who was 45 at the time, Hamilton Berger on the popular courtroom drama series. So it's a courtroom drama series, not a sitcom. My bad. So him and 7 other people were seized in an apartment by deputies who were tipped to the wild party by an undercover agent. So there was an undercover agent trying to bust their naked frolicking narcotics party, allegedly. The arrests were made as participants scampered for their clothing. And amid shouts of "this will ruin us." So they were scampering to pick up their clothes, the naked people. They got busted, scampering to pick up their clothes, and they were shouting, "This will ruin us." This probably was maybe other famous people there. I really don't know. We found 7 people, the cops said, all nude in one bedroom. In one bedroom, they found 7 naked people. Sheriff's Captain Richard B. Brooks, head of the narcotics detail who led the raid, had said, some were on the floor and some were on the twin beds. And when we saw the nude people, he called them nudes, but now it's a little bit confusing because we call that for pictures now. When we saw the nudes, we summoned up the Vice squad to help us. An 8th person, owner of the apartment, Richard Rybold, had gone to the door to let in the undercover man. Okay, so they're all in various stages of undress. There's 8 of them there. And there's undercover agent. The undercover agent also there. I don't know if they naked too or not. But then the cops show up. They realize that people are naked. They arrest them all. A search of the apartment turned up, quote, cocktails, a regular cigarette with part of the tobacco. Oh, so like a spliff. Additional bleep seeds and shreds were scattered throughout the apartment. Some type of inhaler I don't know what kind of inhaler this is. Benzedrine. They already had that. They also had that. There was also a bottle of some form of pills, the cop said, with Talmon's name on the bottle. In the drawers of a dresser, we found large amounts of stag films, which I had to look up what that means. I'm not going to get into it, but y'all can look it up. It's on Google. And quote, filthy literature of the kind you can buy in Tijuana. Okay. So they're kind of vague. I don't know what they really mean. You know, they calling it stag films. You can look up what that means on Google if you want to, but I still don't really know. According to Wikipedia, which who knows if they ever tell them the truth, but according to them, there were like over 2,000 of this type of films that were made in the early, 20th century or whatever. And from the early 1900s through I don't know, 19 something. 50 maybe, they were making home movies basically, and they were highly illegal at the time. Now what was on the movies is various levels of that, what it could be. Some of it is just kind of like your run-of-the-mill, use your imagination, straightforward, and some of it was very disturbing, and some of it had nothing to even do with SE, sexual activities. Some of it was like they were doing other gross things like that, I'm sorry. There's stuff you can't say here, but it's vague what this means when they say stuff. It's vague. And then it's even more vague what they talking about whenever they say filthy literature of the kind you can buy in Tijuana, because that could just be more of the same, like some books with, Playboy or something. But I, I've heard this turn of phrase before. And when I've heard the turn of phrase, the Tijuana movies or movies made in Tijuana, it's very disturbing stuff. It's not just your average run of the mill Playboy, if you know what I mean. So without getting into anything more of details, that's kind of, I don't know what this even means. So I don't know if I'm mad about it. If it's just like a Playboy type of thing, the filthy literature, then I don't really care. Like, these people were whatever they were doing. I mean, didn't say there was kids there or anything. Like, there's nothing that they told me here that would really, there's no smoking gun, because it's a little bit too vague. So I don't know. I just want to point it to y'all, whatever you think. I mean, it's up to you. You get to make your own opinion. Talmon has been the winless fall guy for the star of the Masons show since it started on TV. He is portrayed as an eager, Okay. In addition to Talmon and the owner of the apartment, who is an advertising salesman, which is giving Mark Laita vibes. I don't know. Advertising salesman. I don't know what that means. So they were arrested, and the other people arrested were, and they named their names. And then this name right here, look at it, Mrs. Peggy Louise Flanagan. So Mrs. Peggy Louise Flanagan, which is Tim Tolman's mother, and Tim Tolman's father, were not a couple at this party. They were not a couple, but they were married to other people. They were both married. Look, her last name is Flanagan because that's not her maiden name. So they were naked together at this party with drugs and filthy literature and films of some sort. And I mean, I'm just reading I wasn't there. Y'all can make your own mind up, but I'm just starting to wonder, what kind of household was this man born into? What in the heck is going on here? Because ended up being two of the people there who did have wives and husbands and things already. They ended up getting together and then having two kids. So that's weird to me, in my opinion. Okay, so they all had $1,000 bail except this one woman who had a previous felony charge. She added more. Officers said, okay. Gail Patrick, the producer of the show that Bill is on, she was, quote, startled to learn of Talmon's arrest. She said she knew him only slightly personally and that he had always appeared mild. Talmon is separated from his wife. Okay, so he was separated from his wife at the time. Former actress Barbara Reed. I wonder how long they were separated. I wonder if they separated because of this. Who knows? I don't know. The group was taken to the West Hollywood jail. What precinct does he work for? Is it West Hollywood? Tim. They were taken to the jail in Los Angeles. The undercover agent had been watching the house for some time before the raid. Brooks said the guests were not drunk. Okay, well, that's good to know. All right, and there he is right there with his lawyers. And look how this is him right here looking like a Rick and Morty character or something. All right, next. Okay. 1965, this 5 years later. This is the year that I get their names mixed up. Tim. This is the year that Tim was born. And yeah, and by the time he was born, like we discussed, Bill was already a successful actor playing a villain in a court sitcom or whatever it is, drama, court series or whatever. And then here's Tim's name here. With unabashed tears, Bill Tolman talked about his new baby son, Timmy. Carpenter, that's his middle name, I guess, was ushered into the world. Conflicting blood factors demanded a C-section, immediate reply. I didn't even read this part. Oh my Lord, he had to have all his blood put in. Oh my Lord, I don't know how I missed this. I'm telling y'all, the amount of information I have processed in the last 2 days. Okay, well, that's good. So he's telling how his son. Oh my God, I didn't even read this. I guess I didn't read it. He's so sure he's gonna win, you almost believe it, and because he's so cocky, you don't mind when Perry takes him to his but all this, today's report is the story of a real loss, a child born DEAD to Bill's wife last year, and their decision to try parenthood again, resulting in the life and death drama in which they were involved recently. So Bill was crying, telling him how his son, Tim, who is making unconstitutional arrests in 2024 and trying to chain people up to toilet benches and stuff, how he was born. And there was, he probably had the RH negative. You remember with the RH negative, the RH positive, and all that we learned in science class or whatever? Maybe it was something to have to do with that, because I know if your mom has a negative blood type and then you don't, like something can happen or something, you might need a blood transfusion. Maybe it's that, because it does say conflicting blood factors. I don't know. I don't know what it means, y'all. But apparently Tim had to have all his blood drained out on his first moments of life. Okay. Thank you, Wim, for the 5 memberships. Y'all join me in thanking Wim. If y'all got one, I'm sure y'all already got them all now. And thank you, Mr. X, for the super sticker. So I don't know what this is about. I literally did not even read this last night. I just saw I was just doing this for the timeline purposes. And that's the thing too. I'm going to end up leaving a lot of stuff out, partially because I'm tired and partially because I did not know. I think they gave me some kind of reversal thing because my mom's is negative too. And they gave me and my sister's in utero, like some type of, who knows what they even do in y'all. I don't know. Let me not even try and explain it because I really don't know. Okay. Okay, so that what we just looked at, that's 1965. That's the year that Tim was born. 3 years later, Bill starts with having some health struggles, or actually they come to more of a fruition. I think he started having the struggles a year or two earlier, but he did end up passing away 1968. So he smoked up to 3 packs a day. Not recommended. Do not condone. Don't do the vaping either. Do not do it. I hope you hear my voice in your head next time you pick it up, because it ain't good for you and you know it. I'm not going to even try to convince you. You already know. Don't pick that up. By the time little Timmy was 3 years old, Bill was dying from lung cancer. And that is sad. I don't mean to make light of it. That is very sad, because they did not disclose to people back in the day what the dangers and the risks of cigarette smoking was. They actually actively covered up damning evidence. They were basically just unleashing it on people, not telling people about how addictive it could be. Now today we have all these warnings and all these regulations, and a lot of reason for that is because they were just so lackadaisical whenever cigarettes came out. So this was a common story, and it really is terrible. And I don't think it's cool or cute or good or anything like that. So I don't mean to make light of that at all. Okay. So one thing interesting, let me see, one thing interesting here is that what's his name ends up, is it here? We're going to read about it, actually. Okay, I remember now. So he does this PSA, this public service announcement commercial, the dad, and he involves the whole family. So I guess, in a way, Tim Tolman has been acting since he's a baby, I think he was 2 or so whenever this commercial was filmed. So I am going to pull that up because I want y'all to see it. It's a public service announcement. Thank you, Laura, for the super chat. Go Tigers! Who dat? Throw me something, Mister. Yes, I was just singing the some Mardi Gras beats earlier. What's one of the one day that is stuck in my head? My grandma to your grandma. I'm like in the Mardi Gras spirit. Thank you for the super chat. Let me pull up my other screen. So here we go. We got William Tolman anti-smoking ad, 1968. As you can see, it has 209,000 views, so I'm far from the first person to be looking at it. Okay, and it is hard to hear. I do apologize about that. There's no captions. I do apologize about that. I'm just this is what it is. This is what I saw. Okay, so it says Bill Tolman is best known for his role as Hamilton Berger, the district attorney who perpetually lost to Perry Mason. Mr. Tolman died 6 weeks after filming this. His wife, Peggy, was diagnosed with inoperable lung cancer in 2001. And so both of these people did pass away from lung cancer, according to the public reporting. So here's the commercial. It's shot at their house. Tim Tolman's here. Bill Tolman's here. They're all here.
He's pretty handy to have around. Steve, home from town. Working after her brother Tim. Debbie will soon graduate from high school. Susan, our youngest. Peggy, who looks after ours. And that's me. And that's me.
So here's
graduate from high school. Susan, our youngest. And her brother Tim.
So there's Tim Tolman. Now he's chaining people up to the toilet bench. But look how cute. Look how precious and cute he started out. Now he turned into this demonic demon that has no idea how to act and is completely possessed by some Phaeton that's fronting or something. Okay, so that's him right there. We're going to walk through his life. We're going to walk through a little bit of a timeline of his life. And we're going to try and figure out how it is he got where he is.
Debbie will soon graduate from high school. Susan, our youngest. Peggy, who looks after ours. And that's me, Bill Tolman, with a friend of mine, and you might recognize. You know, I didn't really mind losing those courtroom battles, but I'm in a battle right now I don't want to lose at all. Because if I lose it, it means losing my wife and those kids you just met. I get lung cancer. To take some advice about smoking and losing from someone who's been doing both for years. If you don't smoke, don't stop. If you do smoke, quit. Don't be a loser.
Don't be a loser. That's what he said. Okay. And it's funny because that's like his career as being a loser as an actor. But he apparently wanted to do this PSA. He apparently wanted to do it. He reached out. We're going to read an article about it in a minute, but I don't mind the PSA. I think that's probably a good one. If you're going to do a PSA, he's not wrong. It's a little bit, sad, but it is reality. And I think that it's important to tell people about things. Because the cigarette companies sure weren't. You know what I mean? Like they weren't. I don't know if they had started by that point or what. Okay, so let's get back to our little PowerPoint presentation moment here. Okay. Oh. Yeah, typical PSA. It also kind of reminded me of the Pee Wee Herman one. He had done the same style of one where he's like being very quiet and like holding the, he's like, this is crack. It's not cool or funny or kid stuff. He's like a slack jaw. He's like a mouth breather jaw when he's in character. Okay. You know the website? No, I'm not talking about the website that they made about Aaron. I didn't even hear about it. I'm talking about the guy who arrested him, the cop that arrested him. That's who I'm talking about today. Okay, so now we're here. Ooh. Next. Okay, So Tim goes on to follow in his dad's footsteps. This is a newspaper article from 1985 called Night Visitors Has the Makings of Annual Event. And as you can see down here, he is listed. So 1985, he was born in 1965. So he was about 20 years old whenever this article came out. And he was playing a role in this play at the San Francisco Ballet, Hartford Ballet, Rose, pantomime to the words. Okay, Three's Company was also fortunate. Michaels brought more than just technical dance craftsmanship. Stephen Ho and Timothy Tolman as the other Magi and George, what is it, Teroy? Some pictures. Anyway, so he starts, around 20 years old, probably much earlier than that, but we start getting a little bit of a paper trail in 1985 next. Okay. So you're going to notice a pattern. He really loves to be in Westside Story. And we're literally now talking about Tim Tolman, the guy who arrested or orchestrated or authorized or whatever the arrest of Aaron Smith Levin. This guy is who we're talking about right now. We're not talking about his dad no more. He died. Rest in peace. We're 1987 now, like almost 20 years after the dads died. We're talking about the literal cop who is working at the LAPD, who people are accusing of being paid by Scientology. Okay, so this is another article. This one's from 1987, as you can see. The Times Advocate. Despite the space limitations, dancer Timothy Tolman manages a few bravura leaps. I don't know what that means, but I would like some of this Cajun style fried catfish. Oh, what? They don't say fried? Never mind. I don't want it no more. Okay. So then in 1990, this is 3 years later. So this is 1987. He's in Westside Story playing, he's a dancer. He's dancing in Westside Story. It says he managed to do a few flips. So 3 years later, 1990, Tim is attending Hollywood industry events for Children's Museum benefits. Okay, so let's just zoom in here. Let's see what we get here. Who are these kids? You might be wondering. Good question. I have no idea. But it is a fundraiser for a children's museum. And this right here, believe it or not, this purports to be Timothy Tolman right here. This is the cop that arrested Aaron. Surrounded by children who, I don't know, Alex Gangler. So this was in 1990. So, hey, these people might be around today. If y'all remember meeting Tim Tolman, hit me up. 3 kids, Katie Vanneman and Peter Rogers. So then it says the Friends of the Cloisters, I don't know what Cloisters is, Inc., a support group of the, am I saying that right? Cloisters? A group put together to support the Children's Museum hosted a party for children November 4th after the matinee performance of Peter Pan. So I think he was playing Peter Pan maybe at that time, Tim. Currently at the Morris A. Mechanic Theater, more than 200 people attended the fundraiser, which featured members of the cast, including the star of the production, not Tim, Kathy Rigby. Maybe she was the Peter Pan. So I looked around here. I didn't really recognize anybody else. I'll go around. So if y'all want to see it, you could pause. Then this over here is a Vienna ball. I don't think, this part's not about the children. Okay. So next. Okay. So now we're in 1993. I guess I left out the one here. And we got Peggy, which is Tim's mom, is going to the hospital. She's hospitalized, seemingly on some type of 5150 psychiatric hold. I don't know if it was that necessarily, but we'll read it in a second and you'll know what I'm trying to say. Here's the article title here. Actor's widow suffers financial plight in silence. So there is a full article that I want to read to y'all. So let me pull it up. Okay. So, oh, my word. Hold on. Jesus Lord. What the hell? Please. I swear to God, is Mercury in retrograde? Okay. So this came out in 1993. TBDA's widow keeps finances a woeful secret. The distraught widow of the late actor William Talmon, best known as the prosecutor, blah, 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 kept their riches to rags financial woes secret from the family and friends. Destitute Peggy Tolman. This is Tim Tolman's mom, the one who tried to chain Aaron to a bench in a bathroom. This is his mom that this article is about. Okay. Destitute Peggy Tolman, 64, even managed to fool her dutiful son. Now, this is where I'm starting to wonder. She got 4 kids, and I don't see any else of them talking. It's just always Tim that's talking to the paper. So Tim was interviewed and he said, quote, "She's the real actor in the family. She always said everything's fine, honey," said Tim Tolman. And then they define who he is. 28, an aspiring actor who visits his mother every day. Then they go on to quote him again. "I feel an incredible amount of guilt. I wish I would have known." After her husband's death in 1968, Peggy raised their 2 young children alone in the San Fernando Valley. Struggling to make ends meet, she was too ashamed to reveal her financial woes. But the deception turned to desperation on April 30th. And I don't think this is funny, trigger warning and all that, because it does get a little dark here. So the deception turned to desperation on April 30th when Peggy was evicted from her Canoga Park, I don't know how to say that, apartment because she could not afford to pay her $640 monthly rent. While apartment managers waited for Peggy to pack her stuff, she climbed to the roof. And it's only her, I think, left in the house because it's saying, like, we know that Tim is her second and youngest child, and he's 28 years old at this point. He doesn't live with her because it does say he visits her every day, unless they're lying. I mean, we've seen that happen. So it seems like she lives by herself, or I don't know. That's just what I'm thinking. $640 rent. Okay, so the apartment managers came to evict her. She didn't want to tell her kids what was going on about the financial woes and things. And so she was just managing it silently on her own or whatever. And it says, while the apartment managers waited for Peggy to pack, she climbed to the roof of the building and threatened to, you can read it right here, right here, right here. She was eventually subdued by a blast of pepper spray and hospitalized. Again, I do not think this is funny. What happened was a cry for help, said Peggy Thursday when she talked to the Los Angeles Daily News. And she did talk to them at the hospital where she was recuperating. It says, quote, "And I think my cry for help has been answered. Things are looking up." She was scheduled to leave Pine Grove Hospital and Mental Health Center this week and move into a retirement village. So she was going to leave. So she had this moment. She was going to, you know what? They helped her. She was grateful for it. So that's a good thing. I think this is a great example of when the cops show up and do the right thing. Thank you very much. What was it, 25 years ago or whatever? 30 years ago. Oh my God. What is time? Anyway. So she's kind of saying it was a cry for help. I got my help. They're saying, you know, she's going to leave the hospital. She's going to go to live in a retirement home. She's about to be 65. Then she said, quote, "It's been hard to talk to anybody about this. When I thought I was going to have nowhere to live, I panicked. I just kept thinking, bag lady." But why didn't she ask for help? She says, quote, "I never wanted to burden my children, and I wasn't prepared to advertise the fact that I needed help. That was my first mistake." Miss Tolman said she decided to share her story in hopes of helping others. "A lot of people out there may find themselves in the same situation. I just hope they will not make the same kind of desperate attempt like I did." So this family loves to make a good PSA. I mean, I am glad that she's okay. I'm glad that she was able to get help and all that, but I'm just not sure that this had to be in the paper. I don't know why this needed to be run in the paper. Like, were they conservatorship or jailing? I really do not know. Maybe I should look it up in the court records. I hope it helps a lot of people. In the past week or so, she's received emotional assistance from doctors, social workers, friends, and family. When she turns 65, oh yeah, it's a propaganda push. Got it. When she turns 65 next month, she will be eligible to apply for Medicare. So they're saying, hint, hint, Medicare should be covering, this type of stuff. Because look, this poor lady got kicked out of her house and look what happened. I don't know. I'm not even against Medicare, but I mean, it don't really look like it's like gonna last. I don't think it was like a sustainable model, but I'm not against it in any way. Peggy and William, so the parents, both had 2 children from the previous marriages rather, and they had 2 children together, and that is Tim and his sister. Peggy's first marriage to Robert Flanagan, so her first marriage was to a man named Robert Flanagan, and Robert Flanagan is the quote lead singer of the 1950s vocal harmony group The Four Freshmen, and they got divorced. So there was a man in a doo-wop, like a vocal harmony group in the 50s. We should look them up. Oh, it's going to be copyrighted. Ugh. Let me see if I can look them up. Let me look up Four Freshmen. The Four Freshmen group. Stop. Okay. So this is him. In the late 1950s, the 4 freshmen were from left, Ken, Ross, Bob. So this is him right here. This is the ex-husband. This is Tim's mom's ex-husband. So but it's not his dad. It's not his dad. And Don Barber. So they were divorced before Tim was born. Okay, back here. Okay. When her second husband died of cancer. Oh, sorry. Talmon's first husband, they got divorced. When her second husband, which is Bill, died of cancer in August 1968. Well, that timeline don't add up because they told me that I see. Oh, that does make sense. Actually, it does. It does add up. Took me a little bit of processing time. Peggy raised their children for several years at the family's home before moving to a smaller home in Woodland Hills. It was in 1981 that she was forced to get her first job in order to support her family. In the spring of 1992, she was laid off from a job that she held for 8 years at the Canoga Park department store. Quote, I lost my self-esteem when I lost my job, she said. I was doing something worthwhile. I loved it. Suddenly, I had nothing. My financial situation became oppressive. Okay, so that is sad. Like I said, I don't think that's like good, and I definitely know that happens where people get so overwhelmed and they just don't feel like they have any option. Nobody's helping them. All that, not a good place to be. But I'm glad that people came to help her. Okay, so next. Then 3 years later, Timmy, he's still acting, y'all. He's in Philly. He's making his stage debut, 1996, in Philadelphia, South Philly's Timothy Tolman. So they're calling him like a South Philly native, which is interesting. Making his Philly stage debut in the Walnut Street Theater version of Camelot, following in his father's footsteps as an actor. His late dad was William Talmon, who is best remembered, blah, 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 57 to 66. It's one of TV's most successful series. I mean, look, read it right there. Look, making it one of TV's most successful series. Okay, next. What was that, 1 year? Yeah, 1 year later. 1 year later, he's doing Westside Story again. Here, you can see him down here. And I just thought this was funny because it says, Timothy Tolman makes a stalwart gang lieutenant. Let me get the exact definition of stalwart. I think it means like convincing and good, like perfect. Loyal, especially for a long time, able to be trusted, a stalwart supporter. Okay, let me see. Stalwart. Oh, yeah. Okay, good. Good. Perfect. And this is where you start to see he does a little bit of a typecast because this is like the second or third time we've seen him over the course of 7 years playing in Westside Story. Now, the first time he was doing flips as a dancer, I don't know if he actually had a part or not, but he definitely does get this like kind of leader of the gang part, and he does a very good job at it. Leader of the street gang, and he performs a very good, convincing performance of it. Let me show y'all. Please. Here it is. What, it went away? Here. Okay. Timothy Tolman makes a stalwart gang lieutenant. He makes a good gang lieutenant, basically. Oh, this is what I was doing. Sorry, I got so distracted here. Let me show y'all this. This is the definition of that. Outstanding strength and vigor of body, mind, or spirit. Unwavering. So it's like he's very, very good at playing the leader of a street gang. Do you see what I'm trying to say? Okay. So here he is doing that. Okay. And yeah, there he is, 1997 doing that. Okay. Again, more West Side Story. So this one is, I don't know where this one was. I don't know. Another one right here. Here he is right here. As you can see in this photo, Tim Tolman as Riff Center leads the Jets in the production of West Side Story in Redondo Beach. Tim Tolman's Riff adds sizzle to their respective opposing causes. Okay. Anyway, 3 years later, there is an incident at the Costco. Okay. There is an incident. There has been an incident at the Costco. All right. Here he is making a statement in the paper. So there was this at the Costco. And very interesting because you're going to end up finding out that his mom worked at a Costco, but that's for a different moment. He was out here trying to, they interviewed Tim about what this GUN man would have possibly been thinking. And this is his one quote. He was out here trying to live what people live out here, said Tim Tolman, a 35-year-old actor. We're all artists of one kind or another here. That's what he had to say about the pew pew situation. Yeah, I put the show must go on because that same year there he is again in the West Side Story. This time it's in the year 2000. So he's been doing the West Side Story gang leader thing for literally years, at least on and off. And he's good at it. He's good at it. He must be good at it if he keeps getting cast at the same character, the vicious, violent gang leader. Which, I mean, look, listen, I saw him out there on that body camera, on that live footage, and it does look like he is very good at acting vicious and deranged. It does look like that to me. Let's see. Riff was given just the right mixture of street toughness by Tim Tolman. Okay. Then Tim ends up speaking publicly about his father's passing. And he says he was already an accomplished movie actor in 1957. We already discussed that. Great achievements in Hollywood. By the late 50s, he had 2 failed marriages behind him and a history of heavy drinking. Now, they do leave out of this article mention of the other arrest in 1960. That was a hard time for him where he was, arrested with all those naked people with DRUGS and stag films, whatever that was about. We're just going to blow right over that. Whatever that was about, we're just going to blow right over that. Indeed, despite growing warnings and about the dangers of smoking, Talmon smoked as many as 3 packs a day. In September 1967, he underwent a chest x-ray. The results were ominous. An apparent cancer in his left lung. Biopsy obtained during surgery provided even worse news. The cancer's advanced stage made it inoperable. Despite radiotherapy treatments, it, didn't work. Let me see. I think I might have to go to the... Yeah, okay, hold on. I need to pull this up. Because there's some Tim Tolman quote. I don't know, is it just... Okay, there we go. Okay. Sorry. This is why I did the PowerPoint, because I was like trying to like not have to do all this extra like fidgeting with things, but I'll figure out a way to do it. Okay. All right. So where were we? By the late 50s, he had got the x-ray long after he had married Flanagan in 1958 and gotten his life in order. Well, he didn't marry Flanagan in 1958. And listen, this is what the type of thing I'm talking about. And this is why I do timelines, because what do we just see on that other paper is that the raid of the person's house and all that was in 1960. And in that article we read together, you can rewind it. In that article we read together, it said he was separated from his wife, who was an actress herself, and it called Peggy Miss Peggy Flanagan. So why are they now trying to tell me they got married in 1958 whenever they 3 years later were naked at a naked party with drugs and not married? That don't make sense. How could they have gotten married in 1958 and they weren't married in 1960? And because he was separate, he was still with his wife but separated. See, this don't add up. Y'all need to get your years together. Talmon continued to smoke cigarettes, a habit he had begun at age 12. He underwent a chest x-ray. He had cancer. Despite radiotherapy, it had advanced throughout his body. And as the summer of 1968 progressed, Talmon required increasing doses of morphine, which relieved the pain, but it made him groggy. Hardest of all was breaking the bad news to the 6 Talmon children, 4 from previous marriages, 2 with Peggy. Then in July 1968, Bill Talmon made a remarkable decision. He phoned, okay, so this is how that PSA happened, or this is how they're trying to tell us it happened. This Tim Tolman's dad calling and making moves in the media, like understanding that they're like having a savviness for it, right? Like Tim Tolman was raised by a very famous actor, or for the first 3 years. And then his mom, who was with famous people, the singer in the group, and then this guy, the actor. So look, in 1968, Bill Talmon made a remarkable decision. He phoned the American Cancer Society. Eventually, the call was routed to Irving Rimmer, head of publicity. I want to do a TV spot, he said. I know exactly what I want to say. So they're trying to tell me that Tim Tolman's dad set up that PSA, like called up the American Cancer Society and just wanted to be on TV or something. A dying man telling the story. So it says, what is that little Tim right there in the pool from that, from the PSA. I know exactly what I want to do. Okay. I want a TV spot. I know exactly what I want to say. A dying man telling the story of how he began smoking, Talmon believed could prevent others from ever starting. The American Cancer Society guy was overwhelmed, and he says, quote, the American Cancer Society was never pleased about putting out spot commercials of people dying, or ads or whatever. But this one had to be done. In the late 60s, anti-smoking public service announcements had just begun to appear on television, but there had never been anything like the spot that Talmon was trying to film. The taping at his home was not easy. He could barely perform, given both his constant pain and the morphine-induced haze. Peggy Talmon recalled frequent breaks. The cameraman and others in attendance, including the co-star Burr, who had always beat him at everything, waited patiently. The spot opened with pictures of Talmon's carefree children playing in the yard. When the cameras moved inside, where the actors sat on a chair, he said, my name is Bill Talmon, which we did watch this together. The most unsuccessful prosecuting attorney in the history of the legal profession. I want to tell you about an early case. Actually, they filmed 2 of them. So this one's quoting the one that we did not watch. He said, when I was 8 or 9, my dad offered me $1,000 and a gold watch. So this would be Tim Tolman's grandfather offering it to him. $10,000 and a gold watch if I could get to the age of 21 without smoking a cigarette. So that shows to me like they had money back then if that dad was offering $10,000. I lost that case before I was 12. So he's saying he started smoking before he was 12 years old. All these cases, I have lung cancer. Okay, we already know about this ad. Okay. I want to get to the part where Tim is talking. Talmon's message won praise among viewers, many of whom vividly remembered the ad for decades, and they credited it for getting them to quit for getting them to quit smoking. The most intense reaction came. Okay, here we go. We're talking about Tim here. The most intense reaction came from the Talmon family, given William Tolman's reference to his father. So here's Tim. He's quoted. They interviewed him and he's quoted. I remember this sticking with me for so long. Tim, who was now 36 years old, said, when Tim was in the 8th grade, he made a model. So Officer RoboCop made a model in the 8th grade of human lungs and like pointed to where the cancer, his dad's cancer was on the lungs. Now, this would have been like 5 years after the dad had passed away. Here's my father giving his message. So he showed the PSA, he showed the commercial to his classmates on the projector screen, and he's got the fake, the model lungs in his hands. And he shows them, he's pointing to the part on the lungs where the cancer is, and then everybody's crying in the class. And that might have been, already he was starting his acting, where he was starting to realize how to present his case, his story to his class and stuff. William Tolman, public death was hard on his son. Okay. So this is the part, the whole reason that we're reading this article at all is what we're about to read right now. Okay. Bill Tolman's son, so we're talking about Tim, the one who tried to get Aaron Smith Levin chained up to the toilet bench. His dad, the public death was hard on Tim, on the lunatic, the demonic lunatic at the LAPD. It was hard. His dad's death was hard on him because it was so public, especially. And he said, as a child, I was riddled with nightmares. And I do believe that. And I do have sympathy for that. Because probably as a child, he wasn't like this deranged lunatic yet. But I don't know. He needs to turn away from what path he's on. He then recalled, still, he knew almost immediately that he would follow in his father's footsteps and become an actor. He has succeeded in this task. He's training rookies with the LAPD. He has succeeded in this task, having extensively toured in shows such as Cats, Peter Pan, and other things. My father is my hero, he said. It's not surprising that he went to such lengths to make an anti-smoking spot. But as an adolescent, Tim Tolman found himself repeating his father's mistakes. Quote, I started to smoke in high school, then continued in college, he said. Alcoholism, which eventually induced Tim to join Alcoholics Anonymous. And ding, 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 ding. This is where I wonder, is it possible when he was skipping around support groups and trying to find support groups, if maybe possibly Narconon didn't get a hold of him at this time? Just wondering. He didn't say that. He did say Alcoholics Anonymous, right? But it says a quote right here. There's a quote in the newspaper. Tim Tolman saying that he has alcoholism as of 2001. He joined AA, fostered his smoking habit. Okay. Alcoholism fostered the smoking habit. Not a cigarette went by, Tim said, that I didn't think of my dad. I didn't feel remorse, that I didn't feel guilt. He even recalls blowing the smoke in opposite direction from his father's pictures, which graced his apartment walls. So he's smoking cigarettes inside his apartment and blowing the smoke away from his dead dad's pictures. He said, my dad's message was, don't be a loser. Don't smoke. But I was a loser. These are not my words. These are not my words. I did not say this. He is saying about himself he was a loser. I don't know why he would do that, but there he is. Peggy Talmon, so the mom, ends up being, I ain't going to read this whole thing, it's getting old, but ends up being the end of this article. She got lung cancer now too. And she did end up eventually passing away from lung cancer. So she had quit smoking for a while and then she came back to it or whatever. So that's that. Next. Okay. So in 2002, Timothy is still on the stage. He's still acting in 2002. And in this one, he is playing a character in the play Grease. Now, I found that to be interesting. Why? Because there's a very famous, perhaps one of the most famous, and at this time, the most famous Scientologist. John Travolta was in Grease, so I just thought that was a happy coincidence. 2 years later, back to Old Faithful. He's back to playing on the Westside Story again. 2007, he's starring in a play called Damn Yankees. I think it's a ballet theater, but look, that's him right there. You want to zoom in? You want to get him? That's him right there. Tim Tolman trying to chain people up to a toilet bench. That's him. There he is right there. Okay, by 2008, we have Tim expanding into the theme park performance arena venue, which makes me wonder, is that because he had hookups in Florida, perhaps? I don't know. I know that, in my research on the Backstreet Boys and Sync, it's a common thing where these, theme park performances and stuff are in there. And wouldn't you be excited and surprised to find out that we actually have some video footage of Tim Tolman performing
skin cream from Tatcha.
performing at one said theme park performance. Now it is blurry. You can't really tell what he's saying. There's two parts. Let me play it for y'all real quick. Just a snippet. I'm not going to play the whole thing because it's like not good quality really. But I do want y'all to get a gist of what's really going on over here. This one's part 1. Now it's got 6 comments. Oh, they must have hid some. So it's hard. I mean, look, your guess is as good as mine. But look at the thing down here. It says Tim Tolman as Deacon, part 1. This is a Water World show at Universal Studios Hollywood. Is this Hollywood, Florida? Or is this LA? Maybe it's not in Florida then. Maybe I misspoke. I like to correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe is there Universal Studios in Hollywood? If there is, then that's where he is. And then take back what I said about Florida. But I'm pretty sure it's him right here. It's like the main guy, like jumping around. And I mean, I guess like say what you want and all that, but it doesn't seem like he's too bad at playing the villain. It actually looks like he's very good at it. It looks like he's been training to play a villain for a very long time and has gotten very good at it. Look. We're going to do something, 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 and then build a 18 something monument to my success, he said. I think that's him. Because see, it says Tim Tolman as Deacon. Like, are y'all seeing this? Like, let me look at some of the comments. Are y'all seeing this? Thanks so much for the super chat. Had a random thought that Donald Trump sounds like Pee Wee Herman. I thought that Donald Trump sounded like William, what's his name? The dad. What's his name? Tallman. It's such a hard name to remember. I don't know why. I was thinking it sounded like him. But I can see what you mean. I can see what you're saying. Let me see. Are y'all? Oh my gosh, I'm so far behind. Okay. Is this guy a real cop or does he just play one out on the streets? And that's what I'm starting to wonder. Does he know? Does he know? Because let me tell you something, Tim. I know you're going to be watching. Welcome. If you're going to LARP as a cop in this matrix where we're living, not at Universal Studios, but like where you're like getting a pension and a paycheck for being a cop, you're going to have to learn the Constitution. That's part of your role. It's part of your role. Remember when I swear to uphold the United States? If you can't do it, get back to the Broadway circuit or whatever you was doing. You know what I mean? But look at them. Are y'all seeing this, man? And that laugh, it reminds me of what Serge told me. That when they went back to protest again, he was standing on the roof laughing at him. Like they literally have the man playing the Waterworld villain out in the streets, paying him taxpayer money. I mean, that's where we are with it. That is where we are in this world right now. Anyway, there's 2 videos out if y'all want to go watch them. I haven't been able to sit through all of it. But just, that happened. 2008, he was at the theme park. Okay, now what in the Lord? I do not consent this for informational purposes, entertainment informational purposes only, learning purposes only. But he's playing in this deranged movie. LARPD. Oh my God. That is so funny. LARPD. He's playing in this deranged movie called My Inner Demon. Oh, no, sorry. My Demon Within. Okay. What in the hell? What is the man doing? My Demon Within. And then they got this poorly executed Satan figurine on the front. It's just, I'm concerned and confused. Now, this, you might be wondering, is this him? No, it is not. Vengeance is an inside job, is the little key tagline of the movie. Vengeance is an inside job. No, he didn't write it. He was in it. He was in it. Let's see if his name's on the front credits. Probably not. But he's moving. You see, he's moving on from theater onto movies. Like he's trying to move into small screen. You know what I mean? Or whatever. Listen to the dang, what's it called? Synopsis. Cyril Bass, or Bass, same last name as Lance Bass, who's an admitted Scientology class taker, is a good-hearted loser that works in a thankless corporate job where everyone takes advantage of him. That is, until he makes a deal with his own personal demon to wreak havoc, get revenge, fortune, and popularity beyond his wildest dreams. What? Tim Tolman acted in this movie as a character called Dylan. When a comical yet bloodthirsty demon is let loose, a wave of bloodshed and gore is released. Oh my word. No, thank you. Anyway, he was in that movie. Then I'm not going to be able to play it for y'all. It's going to violate the terms and services because of all the, what's in there. But he is putting out, as of 2012, he goes ahead and puts out a trailer acting reel, and y'all can go and look that up. It's out on the internet, thousands of views. But look at some of the stuff he actually played in. I mean, this is what he's starting to look like now. And it's just kind of giving, like, what's that man's name? Alistair something or whatever. Like, it's giving like head of the Satanic Temple in a way. Like, I don't know why it's just giving that. Okay. He was in National Treasure. He was in CSI. He was in 24. Also a show called Trauma I never heard of, but he did act in all these different shows. And I started to notice a pattern. Look at his IMDb. He kind of has a type. Look, I put it on his forehead right here. And I guess he only plays cops and demon-possessed monsters. I mean, I guess. Because, look, down here, shop manager, but he's on a crime show, right? CSI. Captain Riggs on 24. So he's a police captain. Moonlight Man in Bagging Room. I don't know what this movie is or whatever. National Treasure. He's an FBI agent. Trauma. FBI agent. The Demon Within. So the demon. Dylan. American Sniper. Another military-based movie, and he plays cop number 1. Brooklyn Nine-Nine. A cop show, and he plays Carl Ove. I don't know what In the Art Orchard is, but look, he plays a bodyguard. And then finally, as recently as literally 2019, 5 years ago, he was still acting. He was still doing these parts in a Bosch, in Bosch. So here we have him here. Just, what is this? What even is it? I really should invest in some YouTube Red subscription just for this purpose. Okay, hold on. So here's a video right here, got 823 views. 8 years ago. I wanted to show y'all this because it's from 2015, and they're calling him LAPD Officer Tim Tolman, and he is in his officer clothes. Officer Tim Tolman jams with Eurythmics David Stewart. I don't know what this is about, but I'll let y'all see what he's doing. Where are they? Who knows? I have no idea. What are these flags? I don't know. The big blue screen? Who knows? The chandelier? I don't know. Where are they? Anybody recognize this room? I really don't know. But I do want to make one point here. This is what it looks like whenever, instead of following your purpose and going through life doing and trying to do what you really meant to do, you do something else. Because then, like Tim Tolman, you turn into a deranged freak. Because he's harmless and fine up here on the stage playing this. Looks like he's having fun. He's actually pretty good at the harmonica. I don't mind it and all that. But it's like, why you gotta have the gun on your belt up there doing it and stuff? It's like, what is this? Anyway, okay. So I think we're pretty much getting close to the last final few things. Let me not speak too soon. Who knows? Then I'm going to send the link over to Serge and see if he may be able to join us. So he's performing live with local bands and being a police officer at the same time. I do not know when he became a police officer. Still acting in 2019. Thought was interesting. Thanks so much for the super chat, Harley. Oh, sorry, super sticker. Thank you very much. Yeah, he is a police officer and he plays one on TV. Oh, they are a pop duo of the 80s. So it actually is an actual band. And he's up there just playing. Thank you. Yes, y'all. Shout out to Harley. Yeah, the British flag up there. Why? I don't know. I do not know. What's next? Okay, so then he's also on a video. Yeah, let's watch this too. This YouTube video. We're not gonna probably watch. How long is it?
Sharing life-changing.
Not again, please. Okay. I guess we can watch the whole thing. Here's Tim Tolman. This 4 years ago now, 2019. So the same year he is still being in movies and stuff. And look at Tim Tolman. I don't know where in the hell he is. Where is he? What is he doing? Speed it up. Y'all tell me. Here we go.
To connect and seeing what a really amazing opportunity we have here to connect and be vulnerable and to show the side of law enforcement that these kids, our youth, our community, we never have the opportunity to see.
Here he is playing a cop or being a cop. Oh shoot, I ain't even showing y'all. Oh my god, sorry. Here y'all go. Here goes Tim.
What a really amazing opportunity we have here to connect and be vulnerable and to show the side of law enforcement that these kids, our youth, our community, we never have the opportunity to see. And it's really about breaking down those walls, breaking down the bias that we have in society. This is the opportunity to really bridge that.
What's he talking about? He sounds like Lima. It's really about just breaking down that bridge that we have in the stigma with society and breaking the bridge and bridging the gap and the society of breaking down bridges and gaps. And it's really about that. It's like, the stigma.
Level where law enforcement officers, we can once again be the heroic figures that we actually are out there in society and not look.
Can y'all believe the nerve of this man? Can y'all believe the nerve of this man? We need to be able to make human connections so that we could be the heroic figures that we actually are out here in the world. The heroic figures that we actually are. Now, I don't know if for sure, but this one right here looks like the one that was at the cop cleanup. The man has got a script. The man is scripted. He talks like a Scientologist. I'm sorry. I don't really know. Ex-Scientologist weigh in. Does this man have the Scientology voice? It's like a certain presentation. It's like a certain aperture. It's a certain projection and pronunciation. It's giving, who else I think has it? Ron DeSantis or whatever his first name is. I think DeSantis is a Scientologist. If you ask me, I think he is because he has that same voice.
We're the epitome, the perfect example of conditional love.
She's the epitome, the perfect example of an impossible case. It's literally the same words.
We help people out in those situations of their life, and we put our lives on the line. That's unconditional love.
This man is saying the unconditional love is showing up when somebody has been threatened with their life and battered. It's unconditional love. What he did, chain him to a bench, chain him to a bench in a bathroom. Unconditional love. Can y'all believe the nerve of this man? He also talks like Albert Monero Jr.
Sacrifice our lives for that person. I hope that this is an opportunity for all of us to bridge that gap right there, so we can have trust in.
Yeah, no, it's not that. I know a lot of stage actors. I majored in English. Nope, nothing. It's something else.
My goal as a police officer is to change public perception of law enforcement.
His goal as a police officer is to change public perception of law enforcement. His goal, one more time, as a law enforcement officer, is to change public perception. of law enforcement. Y'all think he's doing a good job based on how he treated Aaron?
One contact at a time, and you have an opportunity to do that. One of the most amazing vehicle, and that's the theater. So I'm happy to be here.
And then walking the beat, police and stuff, but watch. What is this? The Fountain Theater? I'm confused as to what even they was even doing over there. I don't know what they were doing. Let's see. Do I have anything else? He succeed. Okay, look what Serge had to say. He succeeded. He actually succeeded, but it was for the worst. See, that's a good point because to me, I already kind of knew that LAPD had a propensity toward corruption. I did not think that they would be doing how they have handled this Aaron Smith Levin case. But yeah, some people actually have no idea that police can even do this or are capable of this. And it is shocking. He did change public perception and made people's perceptions more aligned with reality. Okay. I think I'm almost done. I'm going to send you the link, Serge, so you can come on. Y'all get y'all's questions for the AMA ready. Okay. Yes, there is a lot more, but I've already been working all day and I am exhausted. And I wrote this yesterday. More to come soon. Subscribe so you don't miss anything. And I'm about to invite Serge in here and we'll do a little question answer moment. And I think I'll let Serge mostly answer the questions. Well, I guess unless y'all have questions for me, but I think he's a little bit more, what's the word? Qualified. Okay, here we go. Oh, some fresh receipts. Okay, good. I'm going to update the thumbnail too when I'm done. Oh my God, these are good pictures. Cute. Oh, I made myself full screen. That was terrifying. It was a terrifying moment. Okay, so now we're just waiting. So my question is, yeah, where does the act end and the police begin? I mean, I really do not know. Look, he made it, and as the villain, yeah, I mean, he trained for this role. I actually legitimately do believe it would be difficult for him to like switch out of it and be nice. I do. And I think that's why he switches back and forth where it's like, "Oh, are you thirsty? Do you need anything?" And then he goes back into his acting. It's like, it's weird, bro. It's weird. What is Serge's YouTube channel? I did link it in the description box, and also I linked his husband Michael YouTube channel in the description box. Watch American Nightmare, alleged true story. It's so infuriating about the justice. I know it is. So Cheryl says, Cheryl Ray, Serge, you doing the protesting thing is inspiring. Watching, you interact with the Church of Scientology members is beautiful. I really liked the, he cut it out as a short, but the other night I was like awake and it was very late on the East Coast and it was pretty late over there too. And he was walking around and talking to people with the camera and stuff. And well, people really, they were coming up to him. He was just walking around and the people were coming up to him trying to argue with him. And then at one point, this guy was trying to say that they had changed some policy or something. And Serge was like, no, they have not changed anything. No, they have not. I'm paraphrasing, right? But then he was like, what's your like training level? Like, I'm a level 4 auditor. Are you? And the guy was like, no. And he's like, yeah. And I was that at 12 years old. So that's kind of the problem. They had me auditing people at 12 years old. Literally, Michael. Hello.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good. How are you? Nice to meet you. We've never actually met till right now.
That's right. Serge has told me so much about you. He showed me your live the other day that you did with him, and it was just like, isn't it just crazy what's going on?
It's unbelievable.
It really is. I mean, it's like since I've been with Serge and I met all the friends and all the kids coming in, and I call them kids, and they're in their 20s, 30s, and all that. But to me, they're kids.
Yeah.
And to hear their stories and to see what they've gone through, and just for them to be on the outside of it and making a difference in their life today is so beautiful. But still, just the trauma that they've experienced and just the horrific actions that they're doing inside with these kids, it's just,
yeah. How did you how did you feel about it when you kind of first started hearing about this stuff? Like, had you had any prior knowledge about Scientology, or it's just like brand new? Because I mean, for me, like a lot of people kind of like grew up in it. They know about it. They've heard about it. I kind of don't know anything that much about it. I mean, I started looking into it last week. You know, it's like I'm shocked by what they're doing over there, allegedly.
Really? Well, it's to be shocked. Well, my experience is like, I grew up here in Los Angeles, and my mother, hey, Serge, um, my mom worked on a television show. She was the stand-in for an actress. And so she got me in the business. And then in all the acting rags, like Drama Log, all the magazines, Variety, Scientology had all these ads. Further your career, further your career. Let's help you. Let's help you. That's probably how Tom Cruise got in there. Okay. Let's say. Okay. And so, of course, we're all like, of course, let's see what we can do. We want to, we want to be a star. So, of course, I walked in one day and I took the personality test, and I ended up on the E-meters, and and the moment I sat there and I had I know it's shocking, believe me. The
Well, even
moment,
like 2 weeks ago, I probably would have been like, "Oh, how is that?" But now I'm like, "No, get away."
get out, yeah, get out, wait, stop, right.
Stop.
Exactly. And so I just like, I had this, like, I've always been really intuitive in my life and just like sensed, what's right, what's wrong. And also in the moment that I grabbed onto these e-meters, I was like going, you know what? This is not for me. This is way bizarre and outrageously wrong for me. And I got up and I turned around, and because they knew that I was in Hollywood, they were like, oh, no, come on. We're going to help you. We're going to help your career. We're going to da. And I just walked out. And so it wasn't until I met Serge that it did this big circle around. And then I really started dove into the background of it all, and what
Mm.
Serge went through, and what all his friends that he knows that were in there as well that have gotten out. And I've heard each one of their stories, and I've spent hours with them, and I've learned all about it. And it's just like, it's just horrific what goes on inside.
Yeah, that's for me. I make jokes about it all the time. Like I like receipts. I like things, especially particularly in the public record, that we can kind of depend on and rely on, because I don't want anybody taking my word for things. People be in my comments talking about, how can I take you seriously? You got a alien stuffed animal. Please don't take me seriously. Go check every single thing I ever said. Do not take me seriously one time. I'm just joking and giving my opinion. Go look it up yourself. So I love the like tangible evidence of things. And until, pretty much now, I didn't even have access to anybody that had personal experience with Scientology from the inside, or even at the protests and stuff. Y'all have been out there. And that
Oh
was
my
one of the
God.
things I wanted to talk to y'all about, and especially you, Michael. But I do want to, the Serge is here. Hello, Serge. We were just sitting here talking like you're not even here.
No,
How are you
it's
doing
okay.
today?
Great. Thank you.
I love these coordinating backgrounds. It's so cool. It makes me feel like I wish I put my little hue light up. So how's everything going over there? Y'all going to be heading back out there today, or taking a break anytime soon?
There's never breaks because we're very passionate about this, and we cannot even miss a day. And every
Mhm.
day that we go there, we pick up more receipts, we pick up more evidence. Like on Saturday, we went around to the Blue Building and we saw 2 minors going in and out of these buildings. So the problem couldn't be more what we're literally advocating for. So all minors are still very much part of this.
And when you put it like that, I mean, for me, it's kind of like a lot of, when you like in a new class and the teacher's just like going, and it's just like some of it you get, and like then you wrap back around to it, first day of semester notes, and you're like, oh, okay, I know what she or he meant now. I kind of feel like that, where it's like, I'm having these like obvious realizations that I probably should have had, but it's kind of all sort of coming together. And when you mention that, it makes me realize like we have a long way to go, because somebody was assaulted and battered in the street and attacked with a dog, and the police showed up and arrested the person who called them for help. So
Right.
they're not going to show up and help. They're not going to get any kids out of this hotel right now.
Yep.
It's like there's a lot of work left to do. There's a lot of movement progress left to be done.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm scheduled to go live with Aaron tomorrow, probably 11:30 our time in California.
So like 2:30 here. Eastern.
2:30 there, he's 3 there, and so he, but, when it happened, I went up to Serge, and Serge is like, "Oh my god, we gotta call 911," and I made the 911 call, you
Okay, good.
know? And then I turned around and I started looking. I started asking all the protesters, all our friends. I'm like, "Where is the guy? Where's the suspect? Where did he go? Where did he go?" And nobody knew where he was, and all of a sudden, I jumped on a Lime and I drove around for a mile on a Lime until I found him.
No, is that like a scooter?
Yeah, it's like a bird, okay?
Ah,
Is
but
that
that's
too
good.
bad?
I'm not, it's a smart idea, but those things are so expensive. I rented them one time and it was like 6 blocks was like $20 or something.
Yeah, no, the price didn't make a difference yesterday or Friday
Totally.
because it was like you had to find this guy because he was leaving. He left the scene of the crime, and if we didn't get a hold of him, he wasn't going to get arrested from attacking Aaron. And so finally, I found him, and then all of a sudden, I made a phone call to some of the kids, and they caught up with me, and we just kept following him until the police came, and the police still didn't come. So then, 30 minutes later, I made my second call to the police and said, "Where the hell are you?" And then they showed up 3 minutes later. So it took them 33 minutes to actually show up, which is so
That's
bizarre because every time Scientology calls them, they're there within seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that convenient and interesting?
Yeah.
That the people who I guess they are there. The police are there to serve the church as well. Like they are public servants for all of us,
Sure.
but it is interesting to see how unequal their application of services is, depending on who it is seems to be calling and what kind of things they seem to be wanting them to do. I was just watching, I don't know if y'all saw this man, the one, Tim Tolman, the main one in chief, he did like some type of YouTube appearance in 2019, and he was talking about wanting to be a cop that changes the perception of the law enforcement and performs duties out of unconditional love. And I'm just like, does the man have like dementia? What in the hell? How did he get from that to today?
You
You
know
know,
what? I have to say this. I grew up, my dad was an LAPD officer.
Okay.
And we're talking about, 20, 30 years ago. And it was during the Rodney King beating and all that.
That was a whole thing.
That was a whole thing, and it was just like the stuff that I would hear when he would come home, it would just crush me. What they were doing on the streets to people, the way they were taking advantage of this. My dad used to work with inside the movie business as a motorcycle cop to block off the roads while they're filming. And my dad would make more in that weekend than he would in the whole month with LAPD. So they look for these people to actually get these second jobs to supplement their income somehow. So to me, if you ask me, this North Hollywood Police Department is definitely in deep with
not
Scientology
north, not
somehow.
north, just Hollywood division,
The
not
Hollywood
North
division.
Hollywood. Yeah.
Okay.
I was actually wondering about that because it's like, are there like different precincts or it's just anybody in Hollywood? It's all Hollywood, West, North, Southeast, Middle,
Well, and the
Central.
Hollywood division is known for having those ties because all of the centers of Scientology are on Hollywood Boulevard, on Sunset Boulevard. So it's exactly in that jurisdiction, right? And in fact,
Uh-huh.
going back to the Danny Masterson situationship, the Jane Does went to that, and it's all documented, all manner of stuff getting mangled in these investigations. And it's like, you if you're doing investigations, you have to trust patterns, right? Because anyone can say, oh, let's do unconditional love, but it's like the pitch is worthless. Like, okay, miss us with the pitch. You can say anything and try to sell yourself as this and that, but it's like we're only looking at your actions, not what you say, because anyone can gaslight you with blah blah blah.
He would have been better off not saying that because now it makes him look like a liar and an abuser.
Yeah.
So I have not had a chance to look into the Leah Remini case, like down into the specifics and stuff. Would you be able to give like a, as brief as you want about what's the case about, what's going on with it? Where do we stand?
Sure. I mean, in a nutshell, is they're having some hearings on having the case moving forward as is, standard. So right now they're going into the hearings, what the evidence is, what's going to be accepted, if it's going to be a lawsuit. Obviously, Scientology's working hard to not have it be,
So
as they're
is
supposed
the
to.
Church of Scientology trying to get it like dismissed? Did they motion to like just get rid of the whole thing?
I mean, I don't think they're there yet. I think they're just
Uh-huh.
having hearings right now and see what can actually be the lawsuit, and they're arguing about the merits of whatever's being alleged.
So they're in like the very beginning, still kind of like
Yeah.
technicalities.
Correct.
But it seems like that's a tactic of the legal team of the Church of Scientology in general, is like,
Oh, they
how much paperwork crap can we do before we ever get into a deposition?
Right. Well, yeah, that's 100% the case with them. And, funny enough, like they're being sued for stalking and harassing, right? And as much as Aaron got allegedly arrested for felony stalking is what he was told, when he just arrived to LA, I mean, it's like, but meanwhile, these, who's organizing? Like, that's how it works, right? Like, that's why the attorneys couldn't be more also on the line. Are the attorneys have no idea that these operations are going on in their client's organization, or are they masterminding it, or what's going on? Because
I really do wonder. And there's something that's just been nagging me about this. It's like, oh man, it's hard to like keep my sanity, really. I'm like talking to myself all the time, like, you are going crazy and you are paranoid, like you need to relax. But it's just, golly, like some of these coincidences are super coincidental. Like, I was doing I told you last time you were on, I was doing the Britney Spears movement and all that, and the Free Britney movement. And I had started working at this law firm. It's very, very like lucky to get the job. It's a super prestigious, old school, all that in the New York office. But I'm still making my little activism video, kind of like this, same type of thing. And Britney Spears' business manager hires the law firm, and then attempts to create a conflict of interest so that I have to stop making my videos about her. I have to stop making comments about her. And to be honest, for the most part, that's actually probably a pretty smart strategy. Mean, evil, crazy, but true. Like, probably should have worked, but I'm not cut from the cloth like everybody else. So I said no, but I left. But then that law firm, and I had no idea of this at the time, that law firm ended up being actually represented Church of Scientology in the lawsuits. And I think maybe the Danny Masterson one, and that lawsuit, and that law firm right now, it's called Winston and Strawn, is still representing Britney's former business manager, Lou Taylor, in the conservatorship case.
Wow.
It's the same law firm. And whenever they were trying to get me to kind of like see, I had just started working there like maybe 4 months or so before, and they didn't really know me, and especially these people. So it's like these tactics they were using. It was like every tactic in the book. At some point, I was literally being interrogated, and it was like, it felt very odd and strange. And I just put it together the other day that it is the same exact law firm. Now, it's 2 different ones, but all these lawyers work together because everything's electronic and work from home at this point.
Right.
And so it's like, oh man, is there any possible way that the Church of Scientology would ever hire a law firm to represent them that wasn't being represented by a Scientologist? Seems to me like no. But what is your, thoughts on that?
Well, just from experience alone, right? It's like that has been a tactic. This is a 501c that, according to my 7th grade education, is a sham and a scam and is completely improper. And the lawyers couldn't be more about, getting themselves on a client-attorney relationship with people that they don't do due diligence on, right? Because they don't visit the hotels. The attorneys were never inspecting the hotels. The attorneys take whatever OSA, the so-called Office of Special Affairs in Scientology, which is the one that handles all the legal crises, the ones that are watching our video right now. Hi, OSA. This is a tactic they've employed, right? And they have $3 billion. When I was there, they were making $2 million a week in the.
Hold on, I'm sorry, pause. Did you just say they have $3 billion with a B?
Yeah. Yeah, $3 billion is what Scientology is alleged to be worth. With a B.
You should see the properties they have.
That's what I was about to ask. They must own a lot of property.
Well, that's all it is, right? Like at the end of the day, it's a 501c that's got a ton of property. It has a lot of cash coming in form of donations, tax write-off donations. Like that's why people get confused. It's so expensive. Is it though? Because all manner of very rich people make, $100,000 donation, and all of a sudden they're offsetting it off of their taxes, right? But then they're getting perks in that hotel, getting linked up. Like I say, it's like a like a bad version of a Soho house, right? Because you are getting linked up. Everybody that thinks Scientology is just out to exploit everyone and nobody gets a shred of benefit, like that's not how pyramid schemes work. The people
Somebody's
at the top are
benefiting.
getting all the benefits of all the people that are at the bottom being used to provide that artificial benefits. And all the celebrities and all of the high paying members are treated like royalty. They're treated by slave labor of these minors, including but not limited to. And the strategy of these attorneys, I mean, when you have endless amount of money, like retaining a law firm to avoid and to derail you and to compromise you, I mean, that's what those tactics are about. And yeah, sure, you can do some of that. I get that that's part of maybe lawyering, and
It's
like,
part of it. Like, it's like, it's like, I kind of think of it as a dimension. There's rules for where you go, rules
Sure.
for YouTube, different than rules for Instagram, so it's kind of like, that's a particularly hellish dimension that I don't enjoy being in. And that's why I'm not, I mean, I'm dealing with my own lawsuits and stuff. People sue me
Yeah.
for no damn reason. But it does make me wonder what the connection between that law firm and Scientology is, the one I was working for. And again, until very recently, they weren't really on my radar, because I do strongly believe everybody is entitled by law, by constitution, by fundamental right in this country to representation, to good representation. That's going to fight. That's going to think it's their case. Everybody is entitled to that, because if you truly didn't do anything wrong or whatever, you should not be held responsible for it, vice versa, all that.
Yeah.
That being said, I do wonder, ethically, to what extent lawyers should do diligence, because this same exact law firm that's representing them, I've dealt with them, and they didn't do diligence on that lady. They were asking me questions. Well, how do you know? How do you? She's saying they're not affiliated. And I'm like, okay, receipt. I just took the bar exam. I think that's affiliation, but I'm not a professional like you. So you tell me. And then it was like, when the receipts were there, it was like, well, I would expect that the other side wouldn't be lying to me. I said, well, I wouldn't. They lie. So I'm not going to be stopping making nothing until you show me some receipts.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're telling me that your receipts as the highest lawyer at this law firm is your friend told you, that's not compelling to me.
Mm-hmm.
We went our separate ways.
Yeah. Well, good for you. I mean, good for you. I mean,
for getting out.
Yeah, no, it was felt culty. And I even was saying it then. I was like, it feels like this is not for me in any way. It was sucking the soul out of my body, and I felt very unhappy. But it's been nagging me, because that is the church of science. It's not even Danny Masterson's attorneys. It's actually the literal church of Scientology hired this law.
correct. Yeah. Yeah. And BJ, I mean, go check out how many people they have retained, because they literally retain in order so that they can create this conflict of interest, and they paralyze the whole system. And we're talking all of Florida is paralyzed, and so many in California are also paralyzed. Attorneys that, by the way, they never even intend to use, right? But they're using all of those attorneys to purport that, well, we couldn't be more official and legal and not abusing minors, because otherwise all of these attorneys wouldn't be putting their licenses on the line, obviously, but it's like, yeah, but the way that we view it is, we were there as kids, and attorneys never came anywhere near the hotels to see what these people were doing, and maybe they were lying to them.
And unfortunately, even if they would have, there's only so much they could have even really done. And most likely, because I know that how these big law firms especially work, they would prioritize money over children for the most part. Now, could there be some special, smaller firm that can do it? Yeah, but it's kind of like these big law firms are kind of like operation like a cult, because you can't have one little peon stepping out from the whole machine.
Yeah.
All of them have to be in agreement that we care more about money than ethics. And that's where it is. So they probably wouldn't even have done anything. Even if they would have come there, they probably would have said something like, make sure they're like 17, or up, maybe they would have said something like that, but they wouldn't have followed that anyway. Somebody did ask a question. We said this was going to be an AMA.
Sure.
Do you have any comment on Shelly Miscavage? That is the wife of the current leader of
David.
Scientology.
Yeah.
David. And
Yeah.
thank you to Hawkeye for the super chat. Thank you for all the super chats, y'all.
My comment is that another mangled investigation by the LAPD that supposedly went and saw her, and it's all just really weird on this whole missing person report.
Mm.
But secondly, and most importantly, VJ, is Shelly Miscavige needs to be asked, why were minors inside of those hotels being put in situations that she should know just defy common sense and defy any sort of like environment where any child should have ever been exposed to. Speaking from firsthand experiences, I was placed in a so-called rehabilitation project force, or like some people have heard about it, it's called the Hole. So it's like their prison.
Is
And I
that the
was there.
trailer they had where they were making the adults stay in there and had gnats and maggots all over and
Just
stinking the place up?
disgusting. Exactly. They were
It's
beating
the
each
one
other
thing
up.
that really stands out about all the Scientology knowledge I've accumulated before this is like the Hole.
Yes, the Hole. So the thing is, I was at the Hole in Florida, and as much as the executives talked about their adult experience, the Hole in Florida was filled with minors. So there were like, again, like, out of like, let's say 35% of all the people that were in that hole were all minors under the age of 18. So unthinkable.
What kind of thing could they even possibly have said to justify that? Y'all were being disrespectful or something? I mean, I'm sure it's just
We
a
were,
reprogramming.
I
They
was
were
sent
trying
there
to.
for not completing people on courses, because you were given, like, I was supposed to be making them like between $50,000 to $100,000 a week. Because I was a supervisor, and each course cost $5,000, $10,000, $7,000. So
And so if you didn't meet those, it's like a sales quota.
it's like basically a sales quota, right? But the sales that I was doing was completing them on the courses so their invoice could be closed and they could not have any more delivery left on that, because everything in Scientology you have to pay in advance. So every week you were given a quota, and then the people that I was supervising on a course that Shelly was running, going back to Shelly. So Shelly's literally implicated with me personally overseeing this project that I was doing as a child. And then RTC, Shelly, and the rest of her girls, because there was all these women that were wearing military fake uniforms that were unhinged and power tripping like AF. Like they literally just on a total power trip, and they blamed it all on me that people weren't completing the course. And then I ended up in this hole where I was like locked up for 2 years, and I was like literally twinned, is what they call it in Scientology. They pair you up with someone to do the audits. And this man was a self-admitted to kids. And I was my person that I had to audit. Like I had to rehabilitate. Yeah.
What? Shelly Miscavige did that
Shelly
personally?
Miscavige is the person that approved me to leave the hole. Okay, so Shelly Miscavige was sent all my files of audits with my handwriting and this man's handwriting and everything there. So that's the thing about Scientology. Everything is in files, everything is transcribed, everything is written.
It
So
feels
Shelly was,
like a honeypot op or something.
it's just this unhinged. I mean, again, it's just like,
So is
what?
it like, do the famous people or like the super rich people get like special treatment where like they can keep their own files or something? Or it's like, no, everybody got to get their files.
Well, the whole thing is like Scientology is always keeping the files, right? It's this whole idea that you're building a case, and that's literally what they call it, your case. Let's talk about your case. And all these audits are supposed to be cases that they're building with you. So Shelly, because she was so high up for such a long time, she had eyes on all these horrible abuses of minors personally. She was overseeing it all. So
I
she
gotta be
hasn't
honest, it
been.
does make me feel a little bit less, sympathetic. It's kind of like karma in a little bit of a way. Live by the sword, die by the sword. Somebody's asking you, can you talk about how people pay more for an auditor they want?
Oh,
Yeah, so that's called the preferential rate.
Yep.
And it's a policy that L. Ron Hubbard had where people, it's already like $500 an hour, right? But it's like you pay $500 an hour if they select for you who's going to audit you. So based on this policy,
And there's like probably like downsides to that, right? Like somebody who's not as good or somebody who's not, you don't want to talk, you don't like them or something. Like there's all kind of reasons. Okay.
Exactly. Or they have these very gorgeous underage girls, like Natalie Galbiati is one that I mentioned, that was my friend in those HCCs, and she was always put on the top of the magazine. She looked like a Kate Moss, like a gorgeous Kate Moss, though, because she had like stunning features. Like Kate's a little funny looking, but she was
Yeah,
just
like a
like,
little eyes far apart.
but she was just like super skinny and really long hair, was a British girl, had like this gorgeous voice, and she had been groomed and trained to do these audits. And she was, I think she was started at 12 years old too. And she was like super, super young. And, you know, adults could pay for 15% more of the $500 an hour. And they were like, no, I want Natalie to
And
do
like
my
you've
audits.
mentioned before that the things that you're asking about in auditing are like completely inappropriate for a child anyway to be talking about it in any way, but especially to an adult.
Well, and especially because the whole premise is you cannot have a single withhold, because Aaron Hubbard says if you are having a withhold, then nothing the technology can work, right? So in any setting where the child is interrogating the adult, their head is on the line if the adult withholds something from them. So imagine putting that level of responsibility on a child if an adult does something gross, for example, and if they don't want to talk about it, then it becomes your problem. So as children, we were ruthless in interrogating adults, and you know, we were being given that power too, right? Which was seductive for us as young teenagers. We thought we were being empowered, but I mean, really the aftermath is nauseating, because again, it's like I survived it all, and I swear to God, BJ, if no 21 and unders were inside of those hotels, going back to your point, do whatever. No one's gonna come and care. If you're really getting off on those audits, getting locked up, whatever, help yourself. Like no one should care about what an adult is doing to each other, right? Like they all sign consents. They all sign lengthy consents. So it's not like they arrive and all of a sudden they don't know what this is about. Like all the books say what the rules of engagement are. So no one can play dumb, and no one can put any distance between what they were doing in the hotel and what's happening. A lot of situations have plausible deniability, but L. Ron Hubbard does not give his proteges a shred of plausible deniability. But his whole thing is implicate yourself, do what I tell you, and don't criticize anything. So if you,
And that's probably like hanging over people's heads the whole time too. If they even think about wanting to leave and stuff, there's all these files and all this information that like you already know what they're going to do with it. They're probably going to make a website and put it on it or whatever.
yeah, and I think on
A
the
fair
black,
game.
on the
Yeah, fair
blackmail
game.
is psychologically you know, sort of like KGB style tactics, right? It's like you're just compromised the minute that these people have your secrets. Like they purport to be like, no, we would never do that, and da da da. But it's again, it's like the power dynamic imbalance is so egregious and indefensible because they don't have any sort of ethics or body making sure that they're not gonna go against your best interest. The whole audit is against your best interest, right? Like even if you
And you're kind
decide
of
to,
like weirdly handing over a lot of the autonomy to this e-meter, which is like telling
well, and the
you
e-meter is just
better
being
than
used.
you know yourself.
Right, exactly. And the e-meter is just really an excuse to distract from what they're doing to you, right? Because you're like, oh, this is technology, this is spiritual. Like, you know, they're reading something about me. Like, you know, charge is moving is kind of what we thought, you know, because everything is in this like false technological jargons. I mean, it's all just these euphemisms that Elvin Hubbard made up. So it's crazy.
So this one you've talked about before, so no need to probably go into too much detail. I know you talk about this all the time, but generally what goes on during an audit, you have pretty much like people of all ages, but sometimes can be children asking super inappropriate questions, and you're holding on to these cans of this like some type of technology, and it's sort of reading like you're what?
It's like a
not-
lie
detector, you know, and questions are being asked, you know, openly. Like, have you committed any felony for which you have not been arrested? Which is one of their boilerplate questions that everyone that gets asked before they start doing anything at the hotel. It's called the A to J interview. And that's sort of like the whole pitch, right? Like we're so ethical in here because we find out all this information about everybody and we make sure that they're really well vetted to be very ethical. But again, it's like, you know, people that complete 2-week courses inside of a hotel should not be asking questions about felonies when they don't even have a shred of a clue about what the law is. And then once they do mine that information, again, it's like knowledge is power, right? And it should come with some repercussions. Like if somebody
Well,
would
that's
tell
what
us.
I keep thinking. It's like, I'm a conspiracy theorist. Don't take anything I say serious. But I'm just thinking the government has just as much, the local government, especially in Hollywood, has just as much interest to sort of get in bed with Scientology as the other way around, because there are famous people there and they are out the gate just talking about some extremely personal things. These are very rich people who have large estates that the state has a very big interest in being able to take over because, of course, they want that.
Yeah.
It seems like there's a conflict of interest and incentive for the government to want to be in cahoots with Scientology, local government at the Hollywood level, at least, for that reason, to be able to compromise and push people through their probate system. Oh, she's crazy. Look what
100%.
she confessed to. Oh, he's not, he's done this or whatever. And then it's like, once you have confessed to it or said it, then there you can go out and find the evidence and things. I just feel like this whole thing is like there's a lot of emphasis on intelligence gathering, which is
Yes.
and not just an audit, like following people. So who are they talking to? What are they doing? Why are they saying that? Why are they liking that? Like, I can't imagine like going back to like any type of like I would be paranoid for the rest of my damn life. I think it's probably a difficult. I can understand why there's foundation, plural, I guess now, for people to. How do you get out of this? Some people get out of it no ID, don't even know what an ID is. I mean, my God.
Yeah.
Again, if you entered into it as an adult, that's up to you. But like, I really am mostly just biased and thinking about the kids for the most part.
Well, and I think that's, again, it's like it's the one thing that's been ignored the most in this conversation. And once we get all the kids out of there, all the adults can go hire themselves criminal defense attorneys and pay for having advocates for themselves in, really figure out what they got themselves involved in, because that's called, you are taking on this liability as an adult, entering those hotels, agreeing. They were being made to agree. It's like people weren't there by force as an adult. They signed binding contracts that, the attorneys that got paid a lot of money make sure that, yes, they renounce every last possibility to seek any sort of recourse if things didn't go well, And again, it's like none of the minors did sign that because we were of no consent age
Right.
to be signing binding contracts.
Right. I wanted to get in a little bit too, and this goes for both of y'all, about what kinds of things you've been noticing at the protests. I'm sure nothing surprises you specifically anymore, Serge. I'm sure you expected pretty much a lot of this stuff, but just kind of like for marking this point in history so we can put it here, like what is going on there, and has progress been made? No progress? What would you, if you're out on the field, what's going on? And for both of y'all, because y'all both been there.
Well,
Yeah.
the thing that I've noticed is just the other day, is that they're now starting to put film over their windows, like
Mm,
frosted film over the windows, where they used to have blinds that would come down during the nighttime. Well, there always used to be a little gap that you can actually squeeze your phone down and actually peek in and see what's going on. Well, now they've filled those gaps in with frosted on there. So we have disrupted their everyday practice. Like when they're picking up people from each location and moving them to another location, they're finding ways of actually pulling into the property somehow, moving the people really quick into buses. They're having to drop them off at a different location inside of a property so that we can't go on the property. So we're really disrupting their way of doing things, their everyday practices.
and so that does put pressure on them to consider. I think it puts pressure on them to consider whether what they're doing really is worth it. I'm sure they would probably say yes. That's the thing that is difficult for me, is that I don't understand how their collective hive consciousness works. I don't understand the ethics system it's based off of. Like, it doesn't resonate with me, and there's no logic, it seems to me. Like, just be as vile and nasty as possible seems to be the defining, I don't know, whatever. But I don't know. I mean, I've only seen that. Is
Well,
there other perspectives there?
Well, the thing that I've noticed, since I started protesting with them is like I'm really an easygoing, loving person, and I talk to people. And so every time I go up to one and try to talk to them, they won't even talk to you. And I've
Yeah.
never been around any religious organization that would not just extend their heart out to you and have a beautiful conversation and invite you into their space and all that. They're just like
Yeah, they
nothing.
don't seem like even welcoming, and part of me in the past has wondered, like, is that part of the marketing, that they're trying to act like some type of secret society or something to make you want to go in? Or is it like they just don't have no home training and they don't know how to act? I don't know.
They're built up as narcissists. The problem is that they only just build you as a narcissist. And even if you weren't before, they're selling you on this idea that you have a special, up on everyone else because you have access to a technology that no one else understands, and it couldn't be more miraculous. And the only reason, people like yourself would be criticizing it because they claim, okay, but you don't know what it is, right? And it's so hard. Like you said, you picked up the book of Dianetics, but where do you find something wrong with it when you don't even understand what in the hell it's saying? It's like, what? And it was on purpose, right? Because it's like, it's all made up like that so that it's so confusing. And then you cannot even just understand what happens in
It
these
also
hotels.
feels like primed for people that have like a military aspect of their background, like come from a military family or whatever, because it feels very overwhelming to try and start learning about it because it's all this TTT base 150-432. It's like, it's like we on a spaceship. You're not the good kind. And it's kind of like, I don't like, but I can imagine if you're familiar with sort of hierarchical structures and organizations like the military, maybe come from a family with police, whatever. And it's kind of
No,
like,
no, no.
oh
They
yeah,
groom
base
you,
this,
BJ.
that.
They groom you for that. But rest
Yeah, but you got to
assured,
realize these kids.
part of the A to J check, which is that interview that they do to pre-qualify you, they ask you, do you have any family in the CIA? Do you have any family at the FBI? Do you have any family that has any high governmental clearances? If you answer yes to any of that, guess what? You're not qualified to be there. They find a reason to be like, oh, you know what? No, you can't really work here, and then they go into the whole, like, the government is trying to destroy this technology because we have the solution that, if so they don't want anyone with those kind of clearances that could, get him in trouble. If your aunt worked at the FBI and then she's like, where's my nephew? They wouldn't want the FBI to start digging into them. So they're very careful on
Right.
how
Right.
who qualifies, is hand selected, and they have it down pat, like what type of things you need to be in order to be like, oh yeah, we can take this one out of society and no one will miss him. And that's really what the qualification is all about, right? Because like by the time they've done giving you the interviews, they know everything about you, like your whole entire family tree, what your weaknesses are, what you want to handle. Like, so you're just a puppet in their hand at that point.
Yep. That seems like, yeah, like pre-selection or whatever. I
Yeah.
definitely didn't even think, like in my mind, they just let anybody and everybody be up in there. But yeah, it
Well,
makes sense. For some of them, they wouldn't.
yeah, and you got to think about the kids that are born in there. They're raised with that technology, with that verbiage and that understanding. So they don't know anything different but that. So they grow up thinking, oh, this is life. I mean, like when you were 3, 4, 5 years old, what were you doing? Think about what they're doing. It's sad.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. No,
scary.
I was allowed to be a little kid for sure. I mean, I was being a
Exactly.
3-year-old, probably playing in the mud outside or something.
Exactly. I was playing in the rain.
Yeah, exactly. I was, yeah. That's one thing I don't have a frame of reference for. And I'm very sympathetic to it, but and that's one of the questions I asked Serge last time he was on, and you probably saw, is like, I was like, being born in it, how did you possibly ever even know that? Like, how do you get out? It's like, for me, it's kind of like, how do you get out of North Korea? Like what, like how? But he explained it to me and stuff. And I do think it is a kind of like, one way or another, something in you that's like, this can't work for me. This can't work for me forever. Whatever, one way or the other it be, I can't watch people be treated this way. I can't reconcile who I actually am with the things these people are teaching, whatever the case may be. But, yeah, no, I thought that was just letting everybody in there. What are the other things? Can we talk about Operation Snow White? I did read a few things about that. Do y'all have some more, I don't know, educated
Sure.
ramblings than me?
Everyone can Google it, and there's a lot of already like on the record official, even like court documents that everyone can understand that's there from that indictment that happened.
Yes, you sent that to me, right?
Mhm.
I'll post it. I will post that on the community too, because Serge did send me something about this, so I can post that for y'all too.
And Operation Snow White is basically, the framework reference that law enforcement should be really looking at to understand what in the hell they're still doing, because Scientology doesn't change. Like, the policies never changed. Operation Snow White got discovered and they did get indicted, and Scientology was going to get shut down, but then they, finagled their way out of it. And then at that point, Mike Rinder was tapped to become the OSA person. So they rebranded the whole thing and they said, oh, we got rid of the bad guys, but it's the same copycat version now in another 501c in another corporate setting. But we're seeing these fair game tactics play out on, and going back to Leah's lawsuit again for the patterns, right? It's like that's what they're being sued for, because they're harassing people, stalking people, and doing all of these shady stuff because they don't want to be called out for any reason. They can't stand the scrutiny. And going back to your original question about like what I see with these protests is the community is behind us for the very first time, BJ. This is no longer, on us, the ones that were trafficked versus them, the ones that got all the perks in the world, the billions of dollars, the police in their pocket, everyone kneecapped, so that everyone is really going with like this brand that they built, right? This is just a brand that they built. All these churches look so nice, churches, commercial buildings or hotels, because going back to like what, those are the facts. Like, these people are checking into the Celebrity Center in Hollywood to stay there in a room while they're getting serviced. I mean, that's literally what they call it. It sounds disgusting, but it's like, go get serviced. I mean, as minors, we were told that. Go get serviced, that adult. Like, are you liking the way he's servicing you? This is a straight conversation that Scientology people have normalized for themselves inside of the hotels. And it's shocking on the after side of it all. It's like, that's why we're advocating for this problem that we had.
How can Nuts and Boards send you guys some info?
My email is on my bio on YouTube, but it's Serge
Okay.
Delmar at proton.me. So
Someone
you
can someone put that in the chat, please? And Michael?
I haven't added, I got to get a Proton address. I haven't had one yet, so I haven't put it on yet.
And thank you for the super chat. Mine is thatsurprisewitness@gmail.com. Okay. Let's see. What else? What else is going on here? There was something else that came up recently, and I was like, oh, gotta ask Serge. I definitely wanted to ask you about the law firm thing. Like, what are the chances they would hire a law firm that wasn't like a lawyer that wasn't a Scientologist? I think it's pretty slim. Oh, yes. I loved it the other day. Coming back around to what you were saying about the Scientology doesn't change. They try to rebrand it, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing, different name, whatever. I did catch live the other night, and then you did make it into a clip, which I'm glad about. The guy that was kind of heckling y'all, and he was like, that's changed. That's not like that anymore. And it's like, I don't know. It's almost like these humanoids. It's almost like they're so different that it's like, I feel like it's not really I don't know. It's hard to explain because I don't want to be dismissive. I feel bad for the people. I really do. But he's talking about they changed this and that and the other thing. And then you're sitting there going, what's your level of training? Are you auditor? No, I was when I was 12. That's kind of the problem. That's kind of what we're talking about here. And I was like, oh my God, what a good shutdown. I was like, oh my God. I actually looked at the timestamp. I was like, I'd use that sometime in a clip. It was such a good. Does it feel good, when you get those moments, or is it just like you're just so sick of these people?
I mean, it's just part of the advocacy, right? Like, we have to talk to them. That's the only thing we're allowed to ask questions. That First Amendment is the only power it gives us to ask questions on a street sidewalk without touching the person, without doing anything harmful, without threatening. It's like, it's not about that. It's like, we're on a road to reconciling the truth, and we have to have these difficult conversations. Like, this man said he'd only been in Scientology for 2 years, I think he said. So I was trying to be like, okay, give him the benefit of the doubt, because maybe he's so caught up with his own thing, which I don't even care, right? I don't care to comment. I'm not here to prevent you from doing that to yourself. But I was calling into question the fact that, well, are there minors inside the places that you visit? Yes, there are. Like, that is a standard operating procedure of Scientology. They've never not had minors. I mean, going back to Shelly Miscavage and David, They were both 12 years old and 16 years old by the time they got implicated in this mess. So they are the original poster childs of the trafficking. But as it always happens in trafficking, the trafficking victims become groomed, and then they become the abusers. And then before they know it, they've spent a whole lifetime doing it, just because L. Ron Hubbard, someone that they do think is amazing, and they can't stop preaching how amazing it is great. But it's like, the dude was a convicted, indicted felon. Like, how?
Yeah, he was also just kind of off-putting and unsettling to look at. Like, I don't know, I kind of feel like how you look, like how like my reaction to you does tell me a little bit about you, actually, a little bit. Like if you're
Yeah.
repulsive to look at, you're probably possessed with demons or something. So Michael says, how do they provide quality of health life for the kids, like food, water, hygiene, sleep? Yeah, they wasn't sleeping, huh? You were like, you were sleeping 3 hours a day?
Literally, I mean, you're working all the time, and it's, again, trafficking 101, right? Like, you make these victims so dependent on you, and it's like very similar to like domestic violence. Like, it's just being under that level of oppression where you do become that pawn for them, and then you feel like you agree to this, right? And like right now, as we're going on the protest, they're, like Michael was saying, they're frosting their windows, they're going in more in, right? And it's actually creating more of a bond between them, because they're trauma bonding now and going like, oh my God, the universe, the outside people want to attack us. It's almost like they feel like, oh, what Aaron Hubbard said was right, because look, he says that whenever we are doing something great, people want to attack us. And it's like, you're not being attacked. Questions are being asked of y'all on the street. And the problem is, a scam and a sham cannot stand a shred of scrutiny. So right now they're very pressed because, all the receipts that are showing up, I mean, as if you just didn't do an incredible job, stuff that like I said, just a GTS away, like Google that, away, and then, oh, what? Like this officer makes no sense. The way that all of that happened makes no sense. Like,
He's such an actor. He's literally a paid actor as of 2019, at least.
Yeah.
So there's two things here I do want to get to, and thank you both for these super chats, Hawkeye fan. Who's Solomon?
Solomon is a underage kid, a 16-year-old kid that the police came and put in handcuffs and detained, again, because Scientology has been calling in completely fake allegations without providing a shred of receipt anytime they make these outrageous claims, like someone has a GUN, or we're making a BOMB threat or whatever. Like, no one wants to hurt them. We want to ask questions, and yeah, we might be pressed because the longer all these new generation of influencers, TikTokers, and YouTubers that are there with their camera recording evidence, right? Like, that's what it's called. Like, my God, look, they really do get locked up, and they really are coming out at 2 a.m. in the morning with a big bus, and everyone's cramped and everyone's wearing a mask and they don't want to be seen. It's like, what's going on? This is trafficking. Like, this
That
is
is
what it's
one of
about.
my like fundamental purposes and kind of like guiding lights of this channel is accountability and transparency for our public institutions. How are the police acting? How are the public servants acting? Of course, a church is not a public servant, but how the police act when they show up or don't, and further victimizing victims and stuff like that, that's a very big deal. And like you said, we wouldn't know unless there was people out there with the cameras. So I'm very thankful for it. Of course, none of us here would condone anything violent or any touching, as you just said earlier. Actually, I would strictly say I don't condone that, and I think it's abhorrent, and I don't think you should do it. And if you do it, that's on you. Please do not. I got a little disclaimer down there, because you don't have to. When you have the truth on your side, you do not have to resort to violence. One more time.
Right.
When the truth is on your side and you have receipts, there's video camera evidence, you don't have to resort to violence unless you're like literally, fighting for your life. And that's a different situation. Does this mean anything to you when the newspaper, I don't know if you heard that part, did you hear that part of the thing where Tim made a clay model of his dad's lungs and like put where the cancer is on the lungs when he was a kid,
Really?
when he was in
No,
8th
I didn't
grade?
get that part.
So when, sorry, shoot, come back. When Tim Tolman was in 8th, because, okay, so he was 3 years old, his dad died in
Got it.
1968.
Yeah.
And then, years later, he's in 8th grade and he does a class project where he shows people in his class the projector screen, his dad's PSA with him in it and all. And he had made a model of some lungs, like a clay model of lungs. And
Mhm.
like on the parts of the lungs where his dad had the cancer allegedly or whatever, he had marked it. Like, this is where the cancer was, this way. And then when he finished his presentation, people in the class were crying. Well, this person, which it is sad. I mean, for seriously, very sad, because people were dying from smoking cigarettes because nobody was telling them it was dangerous. It was terrible. But when you read the news, when I was reading that, Hawkeye fan said something that stood out was the fact that he did make those lungs, because in Scientology, they are trained to make clay demonstrations. Does this?
Yes.
But
Michael's
he was 8
nodding
years
too.
old, or how old was he when he made this?
8th grade. So
Yeah,
I
I
guess he
believe
would have been like about 12 or 13.
You know, I mean, I was doing clay demos all the time, right? Because again, it's like that's the infantile sort of granola look that you get in these courtrooms. There's a bunch of dolls, teddy bears, rag dolls, and things like that, and there's a bunch of clay. So those things make it look, all these courtrooms environments, they look very sort of like, well, nothing untoward could be happening here. The courtroom's bright open, like, so it's not like they're hiding these grooming sessions, right? Everything's done in front of everybody, and that's actually what makes it so dangerous, because no one's able to criticize. So it's a tactic, but I don't think that, you know, Tillman necessarily tapped L. Ron Hubbard to be inspired in that project. So
right. I think it maybe is like, maybe he was like doing school or whatever. Maybe that's what it was code for when I was in 8th grade, you know, maybe he was already in there. Cause that's my question, you know, first of all, is he even an actual Scientologist? Was he in the past? If not, he's got some type of affinity toward the group, even if it's just a financial conflict or something. It's kind of, you know, and then, but who knows? That's one of the reasons I went down the rabbit hole, as it were. What were people's actor, singer, and cop? Solomon is okay. Cuffed, not okay. So they uncuffed Solomon. Thank you. You're welcome.
You had said earlier, someone asked a question about the kids and their health and all that. And one of the kids shared with me is the fact that, you know, they get paid just very few pennies for their time and all that. And by the end of the week, they have to take their own paycheck and buy their toilet paper and buy their toothpaste and buy their deodorant. That's not supplied to them. Nothing of that is.
yeah, the $56 you're supposed to, and then you're buying it back from them because they're selling it to you in a canteen, because you really don't even have time to go really to the supermarket or anywhere else unless it's like a special occasion. So you're just really spending the time right back to them. They give you the $50 and then you buy it back. And don't think that they were giving us like great deals on anything. It was like, you know, there was a markup on everything.
When people are growing up, like when you're born in Scientology, I imagine, you know, you're not allowed to kind of like go to public school and stuff like that. I can't imagine that someone from being born in Scientology, if they never get out, are going to be in a position to generate a lot of their own personal wealth. Is that an incorrect assumption?
No, that's why they do this, is the fact that they get them to this point where they're spending this little money that they make, they're spending it all the time. And by the time they get out, they don't have a savings account, so they can't go out. How can they get a place to live? How can they feed themselves? So it's another way of entrapment.
Yeah, well, and then
I'm imagining like there's this, it feels to me from someone who's completely outside, never really thought too much about it till recently. Like there's almost like there's like a caste system within it. Whereas like if you're famous or super rich or something else, you get kind of like money, have a lot of money, whatever, you get favor treatment. But it kind of seems like a permanent caste system if you're born in Scientology versus somebody's rich kid who could come in after, you know, the fact, and then maybe they're favored because they have money, or maybe they're not. I don't know. I'm just kind of.
No, you're totally on the right track. But let me just like even clarify it more. There's two categories, right? There's public kids and there's Sea Org kids.
Okay.
So the public kids are like Tom Cruise's kids, John Travolta's kids, Lisa Marie's kids, all celebrity kids, and then all of the millionaires that are part of Scientology that don't have their kids join the Sea Org. So when you join the Sea Org, this is the ones that don't have any money, right? Now there's public kids that are very successful. Like Scientologists are not idiots. Like they make a lot of money. They're very resourceful. They're working in that Soho house of whatever's to get hooked up, right? That's again, it's like that's where they're getting hooked up. That's why they stay there. That's why they like it, because there is power in the network. But the network is compromised AF because again, these audits and all of that stuff. But these are the two categories. And so these are the Sea Org kids. These are the ones that are trafficked, indentured servants. And these are the kids that are, doing Scientology, but through their parents. So they get treated better. I mean, but again, at the bottom of the line, like any underage kid that ends up being audited, those audits are always run with the same rules of engagement. And that's where no kid is safe, whether Sea Org or not. I mean, yes, Sea Org kids is worse as a caste system, even though in the Scientology world, they go, oh, look, he's a Sea Org member. They call you sir. So they're telling you like, oh, you're so important. Even if you're a child, they are calling you sir or Mr. Gill or whatever, because they're below you in that caste system. So either way you look at it, it's just obnoxious and just wrong.
It's mind blowing. I mean, that was the first thing that Michael asked whenever he first came on. He was like, can you even believe this? Isn't this, I don't exactly remember paraphrasing, isn't it crazy, or isn't this just mind blowing? And it absolutely is. I shared with you when you were on last that I grew up in a pretty strict religious environment growing up, with the Bible Belt, evangelical and all that. And I mean, in some ways it was pretty bad, but it's like, oh my God, no, hell no. We were going to school, we were, thinking we were normal, and it was, there were parts of it that was rough, because if, my mom would go through these stages where she just weren't wearing pants now or whatever. Right. But I kind of was a little bit, my mom grew up super strict. I mean, she could not wear jeans at all. She would like sneak them to school when she was a teenager and like wear jeans at school. But even that, right. You could do that. Even that you could do it. Like this is, you can't. And I'm just thinking like, it just seems so unconscionable. Not only that the kids are born there and they're mistreated, abused, and all of that, which is bad enough. Yeah. But on top of that, it's like a life sentence unless you just, what's the escape percentage of these? Like how many percentage of kids born in Scientology do get out permanently?
I mean, so a lot of my friends have escaped and have left, but a lot of them, I would say the majority haven't. We are the minority, the ones that are on this flip side advocating and being able to say this, like, I don't know if you saw when we were out waiting for Aaron to be released, it was Jenna Miscavige and Lara Femme, two girls that I grew up with there. We were all like 13, 14, 15 when we were there together. And it's been very hard for us because it's like, we have to, discuss things that are so hard, it's like, and it's horrible. Like we have to talk about our parents on all the horrible things that we're doing, and they don't call themselves out is a problem. Like the adults that got involved in this, they've all been given a pass by the corporate media and by America at large under this guise that, believe whatever, we'll let you be. But again, it's like, they can believe that, but it's like kids are not adults in small bodies. So that's not a religious belief. That's a fact. They're not that. So if everyone inside the hotel is going to go with, oh, they're all adults, then everything is just so wrong. And
it just reeks in like that grooming thing where it's like, the old creep that's hitting on the 15-year-olds. That's like, oh, you're so mature for your age. You're like, you're so grown up. You're an adult. And it's like, well, why are they saying that? It's so that they could sexually exploit them in some way. And it's just feels so close to that. It's weird how like sexual it all is too. And it's fascinating to me that another kind of common like line through a lot of these cults is that there's some element of sexual depravity in it. Like why they got kids talking to adults about this? It don't make any sense to me. Not a shred of a sense. No sense.
Yeah.
Well, not even talking and interacting with it,
interrogating them and stuff.
Yeah.
There was a story I heard from one girl where she ended up getting pregnant and she wanted to have the baby, and they forced her to have an abortion.
See, that was one thing about Scientology that I found to be surprising.
Mm-hmm.
I would expect them to I would expect them to like actually be happy if people are producing more kids, because it's like, at least you could, keep them in your cult versus trying to recruit a person from that's not already in it. And so it was surprising to me that they didn't let the Sea Org people have kids, but then I guess maybe people would just be, I don't know. Why? What's the deal with that?
You just said the right actual key word. So you really are onto something. It's just the Sea Org. If
Okay.
Elizabeth Moss gets pregnant, she will never be asked to. They'll, oh my God, it's so amazing. So all the people that are public,
Okay.
it's what they call it. Public means you come and pay. Sea Org means you're part of the corporate structure to service the people that are coming and paying the big bucks, right?
Okay. That is a very good distinction. I hadn't really fully categorized it that way. So public is the people really funding it. And that's what I was trying to
Right.
figure out. Like, so they're born in there, they don't make no money. Where's the money coming from? I see. They're
Yeah.
luring people in.
Yeah.
And are they like, I heard someone, maybe it was you. I heard someone say that it's like people signing over. Oh no, it was that alien. I think it was Aaron made that. It was people signing over 100% of their paycheck to Scientology. Is that a thing?
No, they don't. They don't sign 100% of their paycheck. The thing is, Scientology in registering you, which is what they call it, reg you when they're asking you for money. They are very sort of like all boundaries are eroded under this guise of like, we really want to help you. So if you are not paying us to go get these audits, it means that you don't want to help yourself. So give us your bank account. What was it again? Yeah. And then there's like, oh, you don't have enough credit. Oh, don't worry. We have like special connections with credit cards. Let me call up my contacts. Yeah, can we just get another $100,000 increase on this credit line?
They do
Oh yeah.
that?
Oh yeah. You can Google the Blue Chase Wave. It was called, and there's a lot of reporting done on it where they were doing this to people. They were just like, upping their credit, charging all these things of Scientology, and then people would just default on the loan, and then they wouldn't pay. So it was just a complete financial irregularity. And again, because like these people are under the gun, because like they're like, make that target, make that money, make that money. So going back to your point, like the depravity comes from all of these artificial setups that are completely ridiculous, right? It's like, why are you pressurizing on these people to make you all this money for what? Where is it going? What is it doing? And then on the sexual, control, it's like, who thought it was going to be a good idea to control everyone so much
That's what I
that,
don't and that's what I keep coming back to. I think there's a fundamental like bottom of the well where it's just like I have to just admit I don't understand the motivation. Like I don't even want to plan a dang surprise party. I don't even want to work with willing participants that I don't have to brainwash and manipulate and control. I don't want to do it. And so it's like thousands of people and some of them are on a boat and some of them are underground in a vault and it's just like what do you get out of that? That feels like so much effort and energy. Are they doing drug? Like why? How? I get back to the same question. It doesn't make sense to me. And I think it just doesn't make sense to me.
well,
Just
you
like Jeffrey
almost just
Dahmer
said, are
doesn't.
they doing drugs? And this is an example that I would like to tell you. Maybe this will clarify, right? Like L. Ron Hubbard's rhetoric is the drug. That's what causes the cognitive dissonance. They're all suffering cognitive dissonance, right? Like I
Hmm.
truly do believe that, and I'll give them that benefit of the doubt. Y'all were under cognitive dissonance, just like Charles Manson's followers, right? They were told this
Yeah.
pitch, they were told all these lies, and then they went and did something that was actually a felony. And then Charles Manson tried to be like, oh, well, I just told him something, but I'm not responsible. And, the problem with that is you're working in a conspiracy when you're breaking the law together. Even if you don't know it, it's not good enough to say, like, those Charles Manson people were like, but we thought we were going to do something. No, that's not how it works. Like, I thought it was something valid isn't a valid defense for anything. It's like, did you break the law or didn't you break it? Did you take the passports of those minors? Like I told you, I think in our last live, like that was a practice that was systemic and literally done to everybody, right? And we just thought it was, I mean, when you're 15 years old, you don't even care about your passport. Like, there's all these things that take place that you just completely unaware about. So it's just like a dwindling spiral of dysfunction and craziness, because there is no oversight in these hotels, even though they have the best attorneys representing them, but under the guise that no one can have a shred of an opinion about what L. Ron Hubbard said. I mean, and
Well,
that's
one thing I know L. Ron Hubbard had said before was something like, never stay on the defense for too long. Like you want to be on the attack or whatever.
yeah,
And that's probably how the law firms see themselves, like if Church of Scientology gets sued, like, okay, we'll settle or we'll go to court, I guess. But they probably even perceive their own role as like a protector, like a attack dog, like go do a cease and desist to this person or go threaten them with a lawsuit or hire a private whatever investigator. Although is there like a whole entire arm of Scientology that's just like private investigation. Okay, Rabbit's here. Rabbit.
Hi, all my favorite people. Hi, Michael. How are you?
Hi,
I've never
Rabbit.
met
Nice
you.
to see you.
How are you doing?
Good. How are you doing, honey?
I'm good, man. You know, I'm exhausted, but I'm good, and I'm catching up on everybody's stream, you guys. So I took a couple days off because I got to rest the brain.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to believe me. I did that. I took last night off from protesting because I was just like, I felt like I ran a marathon since Friday.
Yeah.
Oh my
I do
God.
too. I have been down, no pun intended, all pun intended, so many rabbit holes, and one of them being this one. And then within this one, as y'all know, it just branches all out. And today, earlier, I was like, I could not even hold my eyes open. Now that we're like talking and stuff, I feel a little more awake. But after this, I'm probably gonna crash. I'm gonna be like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm just sitting on my couch. But
You know-
it's cool that we're all doing it together. It's almost like weirdly energizing me, that there's other people. I'd like if it was just me, I'll be like, okay, going to bed.
Yes. BJ, I don't know if you can relate to this though. It's like as a never in, right? And everybody in the chat is saying that we are suppressive people at this point. I said, well, how am I suppressed when I've never been in?
Listen, I have been called everything but a child of God on these internet streets, and so I don't really pay too much attention to it. But yeah, no, I don't know what the definition is. I didn't even know what the right definition of a squirrel was. See, I thought a squirrel was just like somebody Scientology didn't like. No, a squirrel is somebody that's still kind of like squirreling around with Scientology technology
That's
outside of
right.
it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right. Good, BJ. See, it's like it's all these
You're
little
learning, girl.
technicalities.
But the thing is, like, I'm not scared to be wrong too, because I put so many disclaimers. I'm like, I don't know, y'all. I'm just trying to. And Rabbit's very good at this too. She kind of jumped into a different story that I was covering
Mhm.
before the same way. Like we kind of switched off because she had been covering Scientology for a while here and there. And then I think even like a year ago, didn't you start making videos a while back about it?
Yeah, about a year and a half ago. That's like one of the first, maybe the first video that introduced me to Aaron's channel at that time was
Mhm.
that Dr. Berg one.
Right.
Which I love the keto diet, don't get me wrong, but that
It
one's
works for
really,
people I've seen use it.
yes, that one, when I saw that video with his son, that was the one that really made me think about, wait a minute, really? Like, he's really a Scientologist? Wow.
It's like it's like a scary. It's almost like finding out somebody's a practicing Freemason out loud. It's like, whoa, they got those.
Exactly.
Like, whoa, that's who knew. I've heard of them, like a unicorn or like the Loch Ness monster or something. But I definitely do relate to that. Like, I don't understand what like the words mean. I don't understand maybe. And that's the thing too. I don't take too hard of a stance on things. Like there's no way that Xenu, Galactic Overlord, nuclear, maybe, girl, I don't know. Anything could have probably everything happened. Who knows? But the holding the children hostage in the hotel. Can we start there? Can we start with the actor? The actor playing a cop that chained a man to a bench in a toilet. Can we start there? And then we'll get to Xenu
Yeah.
or whatever.
but
But
it's
I
like-
mean, maybe they're gonna call me suppressive. Maybe I am.
No, you'll definitely be called that because again, L. Ron Hubbard puts his proteges on that whole thing, right? So that was like sort of like the self-defense mechanism. They're not supposed to hear any criticism. And if they do hear it, they're supposed to immediately dismiss it or there's something wrong with their programming. So that's really what it boils down to in terms of suppressive. They don't care if you were there or not. As long as you say anything critical, you're already putting yourself in that category.
Yep. Yep. I need a
Wow.
t-shirt that says suppressive as AF.
Yes.
They probably have them. They probably have them around. So are y'all going to be heading out to the protest tonight? Michael, you ready to get back in?
Well, you're talking about tired and all that. It's just before Serge told me you guys are going live, I was getting ready to lie down and take a nap so I could get ready for tonight. So as soon as we're off here, I'm going to go down.
Oh
and take
no,
a nap.
I took your nap time away.
Honey, there's plenty more time, but I'll be out there tonight.
Well, I'm so glad that y'all all came on. I can also, yeah, I mean, we've been on here a while. I can let y'all run, but I do have both of your channels linked in the chat, in the description box.
Thank
Everybody in the chat, make sure that you do follow because these guys are going out there. They're on the streets. They are on the front lines. That they run into some hilarious shenanigans. Some of them are a little bit stressful. Arrests. I mean, it's real live happening live. So I would suggest you go follow both channels. And also they have people on. They do little, things like this. They go on other people's channels. The community posts are amazing. You get a little bit of Wordsworth level type of rhetoric going on in the community tab. Sometimes get beautiful poetry and things. So I would strongly suggest following. Subscribe to all 3 of the channels on here: Rabbit, Michael, and Serge. And
Thank you
me.
so
But
much.
you're not talking to my chat unless you subscribe, probably. Oh, no, I
That's
didn't
right.
I
And
need to keep that on permanent.
I don't know if you've noticed too, BJ, just a heads up, especially because you're covering this topic, but I've noticed this too. The comments start to look a little funny. So one thing that I pointed out, this was in many Scientology videos ago, I did some like, compare and contrast on some of the comments on Twitter versus the comments on YouTube. And so you start noticing some of the, I don't know what they
Similarities?
call it, in the sense of they are Scientologists for Scientology trying to defame various characters, various people here. So like this is something that I noticed when I had Aaron, when I had Serge, there is the way they are worded, and then you go to Twitter and actually review it, you start seeing, wow, that sounds very Scientology language, very
For me, it has a
attacking.
feeling. It has a feeling. It's like, I don't know. I know it when I see it. Like, it's this hyper aggressive, like super, like almost masculine, but like not the good kind. Like, I'll get back to tell you. Like, whoa, dude, only people talks like that I know of is something's wrong with them, or they're
Yeah, they're like
Yep.
plants.
They're plants. That's what they are. So and thank you, Michael, for saying that, because I noticed, and you really, I just noticed a theme about various comments that were talking about people that were either interviewed on my channel, and then I went to Twitter and just noticed some similarities in the language that they would use. So that's something, just a heads up, if you're never in and you start covering this stuff, you're going to notice a pattern of these specific type of accounts that are interesting accounts.
Well,
Definitely
thank you for
coming
that
from
heads up.
somewhere.
Because I had noticed it a little bit, but I already had ops like from the lawsuit stuff. So all my ops are the same anyway. But it definitely has been a little bit picked up. I have gotten a message or two, a DM or two, like, just so you know about this person, so and so, blah, 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 just so you know who you're supporting. Like, shut up. Shut up. Be quiet. I don't care. Like, say it with a video, tag me in it. That's fine. But all this little she said, I don't care. But Serge said something similar earlier, said something like along the lines of, what did you say, Serge? Well, something like, you can't be an activist. You're not going to be doing activism if you can't recognize patterns. Like, you have to recognize them when they come up. And it's the same thing with this comments thing. No comments are going to stop me. I'm not scared. I'm not scared of literally anything. So a comment is really,
it's really being able to listen to the integrity of the comment, because the integrity of the comment will really come true if it's true. And if it's not true, there's a lot of lack of integrity to the comment.
That's it. And yeah, I mean, the good thing is it does seem to be a large group of people have started making videos about this. Some people know each other. Some people link up. Some people are just making videos and not talking to anybody. They're just out there. So making TikToks is blowing up on TikTok. Yeah. We do have a BJ Investigates coming out this week too. So that'll be like a different level of production.
I am excited. This is awesome.
I'm so excited too. Well, thank everyone for coming by. We can definitely do this again very soon. I live here. And so good luck tonight at the protest, and we will all be tuning in. Everybody make sure you follow everybody. And I guess that's all I really have for today. Anybody want to say anything else?
Hey, thanks, BJ, for having us on.
Of course, anytime. I am loving it. I really like it. I told Serge this, I'm usually doing stuff by myself. Like sometimes me and Rabbit will be covering the same topic here and there, but it's nice to have a little bit of a like, oh, what did you hear? Oh, what is he posting? Oh, someone's live. Oh God, someone's getting arrested. Like everyone go over there. It's cool. It's a real online movement starting to form. Which
It really is. Serge has been, he's been like, Michael, you got to get on. You got to get on. So I basically just got on like a week ago.
Well, and look at you. Let's get them to 1,000, everybody. 1,000 subscribers in one from the end of next week.
And it's just like
Tuesday by Sunday.
The comments and the stories I'm getting from people, it's just so beautiful because it's like I'm coming from a different perspective. I'm coming from the outside. So it's like, it's pretty beautiful to be behind this movement. And really the number one thing is let's get the kids out.
Yes.
And I will say, I'm going on my 4th year of doing this type of thing. It started with Brittany. I've done the free BAM movement, which I'm in federal litigation for this. I've also covered, I'm I'm pretty seasoned at this point with this stuff and the mean comments and I've endured the fair game tactics, even if it wasn't coming from Scientology.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, the most important thing is being able to go back and have family at your house or that you can drive to. That's like just not internet people or whatever. And I know I told Rabbit the same thing, like having your husband, having your fiance, having like, that one person who, no matter what, they have your
Yes.
back, no matter what a comment says, no matter what, ride or die. And I'm ready to die about it, and it's
Yes.
like, I'm so comforted to see not only does Rabbit, I know, has her support system, but now, both you guys do. It's the most important thing in my opinion, for what it's worth. And
Absolutely.
it's heartening.
Well,
Yeah.
we're blessed to have you.
Yeah, and
Yes. So
everyone in
let's
this
just do the
community.
dang thing, y'all.
Yes.
Anything else? We're going to do all the follows and everything.
I mean, I would just say that, we are so thankful for all the support that we're getting, because that's what's giving us this oxygen. It's like, this is the year where this is all coming undone, and it's gonna take baby steps. But that's one word that Michael uses with me all the time, is like, it's baby steps. The world's not gonna change in one day, but we can exercise our First Amendment right. We can go to a public sidewalk and be heard, and that's all we have. Like, we don't have anything else. Like, you're not
That's it.
guaranteed. Anything else is not guaranteed. The only right that you have is to go to a public street and peacefully protest. And it's
So
like,
if anybody wants to, is it something that people are going individually, or is there a group that people can reach out to if they want to come and support in person, or how is that working?
yeah, I mean, we're always in these different locations, so everyone can really find out where we are at all times. And we are a decentralized movement. Like, no
Good.
one is the leader of anything. We have a lot of leadership, but there is no hierarchy.
Perfect.
Audit, LA, Scientology audit LA streets. I feel he's the one that sort of started it all, right? Because he got
He
bullied
kicked
by
it
them,
off.
and then
Yeah, he
he's like,
kicked it
wait,
off.
what? And then he started pulling the string, which is what you investigate, right? When something doesn't make sense, and something that Scientology did teach me as an interrogator and investigator there, is like, they called it pull the string. Something doesn't make sense. Things should make sense. And if they don't, pull the string, find out what's behind. And the more strings you start pulling, then you can get to the Sherman tank, is what they call it.
Mm.
So we have the Sherman tank inside of these hotels, but we don't have all the strings yet. We're pulling them. We're finding out, okay, this receipt, this problem, this, and we're seeing the patterns play out in front of us. And live streaming, again, it's like, it's a new era of transparency, because you cannot hide if you're being live streamed at all times. And for us, we're super protected now, because we have our phones in our literal hand, and in 1 second we can have 400 people watching what's happening to us. It's like, I would have never been able.
I think that made the difference in Aaron's case. That's what made the difference, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I agree.
And for us that, have been so abused as kids, it was very scary, the thought of going somewhere and, we haven't been supported. And it's like, we are the, David and the Goliath situation. Like, we're this small compared to, we're throwing sticks and stones at a mammoth, you know what I mean? And it's like, but now with the community behind us, it's like, I show up to this protest and there's 500 people in the live with me. It's like, I feel safe. Nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to go down. No one's going to be that stupid. And, after what happened with Aaron, that sends him a message to double down and triple down. Don't do anything stupid. You're being recorded 24/7, and we're being recorded 24/7. So if we do anything on that's untoward or whatever, it's going to be recorded. Like, it's a transparency has to work both ways. So
we can't go in a bank. We can't go in a post office. We can't go anywhere in the world and not be we can't go through a red light.
Exactly.
Without being recorded. So and I don't like that. I don't really like it. But since I have to deal with it, we can record people in public.
Yeah.
Everyone should deal with it for sure. Yeah, no, I agree.
Period.
Yeah.
Well, that's all I really had. Anything else anybody wants to add?
Just keep pulling the strings and let it unravel.
Yes.
I'm gonna keep pulling that. I'm a string puller. This is my full-time job now.
I love
Thank
it.
you so much, guys. Nice meeting you, Michael. You guys
Likewise,
are awesome.
Rabbit.
Serge, you,
Good to see
BJ.
you,
I
Rabbit.
cannot wait for BJ Investigates.
Oh,
I'm down.
So
I'm a little
good.
late because I said I was resting, and I'm still gonna rest, but I gotta watch the replay. But thank you so much, BJ.
Yes,
Amazing.
of course. And everyone, we will see y'all later. Facts Ain't Defamation. Love you, Minnie K. Bye.
Bye.